That's Norsworthy.
Welcome in on a delightful Tuesday. Humidity down. It's going to go way up. If you're going to play golf this weekend, beware. Make sure you bring a lot of liquid because we're going to have high humidity. Heat index is going to feel like over 100. I think a couple of days could be over 105. But today, just absolutely terrific. Wish I could say the news was the same. The All-Star game was originally supposed to be played today, Dodger Stadium. We'd be excited. We'd be talking about how we used to love it more when it was a little more meaningful years and years and years ago, but we would have really loved inside to watch that tonight. We are not going to. It's the second time the game has been canceled since 1933. And then we found out today, as long as we're talking baseball, 11 umpires are opting out of this season. We saw today, just moments ago, the Houston mayor, Sylvester Turner, has proposed that Houston go back to a 2-week shutdown of the economy at minimum to quell the pandemic. And if they don't agree with that, they should at least go back to phase 1. So it is not a great day. In fact, in Memphis, 700 new cases in Shelby County today. Highest single day that we have had since the pandemic began in March. This comes 10 days after the 4th of July. There was one new death, so at least the fatality rate holding itself down. So another crazy day when it comes to the pandemic in Memphis and not and really around the country. And not really, I guess you could say a whole lot has changed from just the 24 hours ago. Good afternoon, Brett Norsworthy, who joins us again from Forest City, Arkansas. How are you today?
I'm well, Dave. The fatality rate's doing more than holding itself down. It is going down. 1.5% in Shelby County is the fatality rate. 224 deaths out of all the people that live in Shelby County out of 930,000. That means you stand a chance of 0.02% passing from it, but 1.5% if you got the virus.
Well, you know, if you do get the virus in 700 new cases, you don't know what the ramifications are. I just heard that someone that actually has sort of a connection with this radio station who was in their 30s passed away from COVID-19 in the last week or so, and we don't know things that
But we do know the ramifications.
We do know that some things are troubling.
98.5 live.
Well, you know this. Some of those that you don't know yet, Brett, some of those may get permanent lung damage if they got the COVID in the lungs in a certain way. It's a respiratory disease.
And they could.
That's right.
And they could, and time will tell that. But we know right now, we do know that 98.5% will live.
That is the case right now. It certainly is going to be an interesting show today because one of the sporting events that we've been looking forward to for a long time will take place, but it will not take place with people. We thought until really just about a week ago that there was a good chance that the WGC would have folks. The executive director of that tournament is Daryl Smith, and he will join us at 3:30. There's a lot of college football notes that we can go over. Brent Beard is so proficient at keeping us all informed with what is going on. We'll talk about that SEC meeting from yesterday and a whole lot more with Brent coming your way at 4. Pat Smith from Jocks on more of the same at 4:30. At 5 o'clock, Beaumarchant. collegetopro.com. We will talk some NFL football, name change in Washington, the quarterback ratings that we've been doing, and things of that nature.
I was interested in your quarterback in the NFC East that we did last week. You had Dalton for Washington.
Yeah, I did. He's the second-string quarterback, and
I thought Alex Smith was.
No, actually, Andy Dalton is the second-string quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Alex Smith is the second-string quarterback for the Redskins.
So you have a second-string quarterback ahead of either the first-stringer or the second-stringer with Washington.
That's correct. Dwayne Haskins is the first-stringer, and he may end up being great, but I'm not totally convinced, and I know what Andy Dalton can do, and so I had him. I think I had him fourth, right? Yeah, I had Wentz 1, Dak 2, Daniel Jones 3, and Andy Dalton 4.
So the backup for a quarterback that went for 5,000 yards listed ahead of the starter in Washington. Interesting, because next week when we do AFC North, I think I'm going to have Mitch Trubisky 6th.
Yeah. That's okay with me. But where will you have who the Bears? So you've got who have you got as the Bears starter? I guess I should ask.
I know Nick Foles is better, whether he's a starter or not. They may start Trubisky just because the embarrassment of having already embarrassed himself so badly in drafting him and sticking with him. But Nick Foles is better. He was an MVP of the Super Bowl.
Do you have him in your
Trubisky?
Top 4?
Will never be that. I think I'm going to have Foles 4, and I may even have – I think I got Jordan Love 5, the backup for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. But that's next week. We'll do AFC North today, NFC North next week.
You're going to put a guy who's not even taking a snap in the NFL ahead of Mitch Trubisky? Oh, my
I know
gosh.
Jordan Love's better than Mitch Mitchell.
Oh, my gosh.
There's no doubt about that.
That is such a diss. Are you serious?
Well, we didn't do a NFC North today because we didn't want to hit you with it right when you were back. You did agree with Bo with your AFC East, and you agreed with all of us. Unanimity that a guy that we really don't even know is healthy, and he's replacing – it's the biggest replacement since the guy that came in at first base or replaced Babe Ruth in the outfield, rather, for the Yankees. All 4 of us had Cam Newton number 1 in the AFC East.
Yeah. Well, the only other guy that you would consider is my 2 guy, and I know you don't like him at all, Josh Allen.
You and Bo both had Josh Allen, too. Both Drew and I, we had Fitzmagic, too. You had Fitzmagic last.
I did.
Bo had Fitzmagic last.
So did he have Sam Darnold 3rd?
He did. I would go into next year with Sam Darnold or Fitzmagic in a second over Josh Allen.
I don't know. I think Josh Allen is better than you're giving him credit for, but we'll see. Hopefully,
I saw him last year.
This year.
Fitzmagic blew his numbers blew him away last year.
All right. And in the East, did you have it the same? Well, obviously you didn't have Andy Dalton in there, but did you have it Wentz, Dak, and DJ Daniel Jones?
No. Dak Prescott threw for 5,000 yards last year. That's got to matter. All 3, Drew, Bo, and myself, we all had Dak 1. You're the only one that had Wentz.
I'm the only one? Okay. All right.
We all had Danny Dimes 3, and 3 of the 4 of us had Haskins 4, and you go with the Cowboys backup as 4th over Haskins. Scathing indictment of Haskins if the Cowboys backup is better than him.
I'm not convinced of Haskins. I can very well be wrong. And today we're doing the AFC North, correct?
AFC North today.
If you've got Joe Burrow 1, then I know you're just all LSU. You're all SEC all the way.
I don't.
Okay.
Dak Prescott's SEC. He threw for 5,000 yards last year, Dave.
I know he did.
You got Cam Newton number 1. He's SEC.
He sure is. He's also a Heisman Trophy winner, and really and truly the only thing that slowed
Joe
him
Burrow's
down.
a Heisman Trophy winner.
I know it, but Cam he's taken how many snaps in the NFL? How many years? How many?
But you don't have him
seasons?
1. You got him behind a guy from North Dakota State who can't stay healthy.
I have Cam Newton 1 in the AFC East. What are you talking about?
Well, you just mentioned Dak.
Oh, yeah. I have Dak. I have him behind. Right. I have him behind.
No,
Wentz.
I wouldn't have a rookie first, no matter what.
Okay.
No matter where he played.
All right. I'm
Remember,
agreeing with you on
picked
that.
Clemson to beat him too.
I did pick Clemson to beat him. Absolutely. The news came out as soon as we left yesterday. Tweeted by the man himself, Musa Cisse. Tomorrow is the day that Musa will announce at 3 o'clock, just as we are coming on the air. So we'll be checking our Twitters to see where Cisse.
Spoiler alert: he's signing with the Tigers.
Is going to go.
Hope it doesn't upset anybody. Hope you're not at the Musa party tomorrow.
Can I just say this, because it doesn't happen every time? I totally, 100%, emphatically, passionately agree with you.
Yeah, he didn't move to New York to go to school at Lausanne to then go to LSU. He was never going to LSU. They got LSU was very interested in him, and he listened, but it was mostly just last second kicking tires. He was never going to LSU. I don't care whose crystal ball said it. He was going to Memphis the day he moved here.
He is going to Memphis. It'll be announced, I think, tomorrow. And we are trying like the Dickens to get Penny Hardaway on at some point this week. I mentioned
how many games will the fans ever see Moussa Cisse play? Rank and file fan, not media, not the coaching staff. How many times, if you're just a ticket buying public member,
in person,
will you get to see Moussa Cisse play in person at FedEx Forum?
I wish I could tell you the answer to that. I don't know.
If it's fanless next year, I know how many. 0, because then he's going to the NBA.
Possibly.
What if we have no season at all? Do we ever see him in a Tiger uniform? Would he have less games played as a Tiger than James Wiseman?
No, who knows? Who knows? What do
you think?
The interesting
if we don't have a season next year, he won't.
I can tell you this. He will not go to the G League this year because he's too young. He could go to the G League the next year and be a part of that elite team,
or go into the draft,
or he could go into the draft. Exactly. I would reserve my opinion on that until I've really seen him play at the collegiate level or against top-notch AAU level competition, to see if he's really ready for the NBA. I know his upside is, and I know defensively he is, but even in those little pickup games they've been talking
7
about.
feet.
No, those little pickup games that they've been playing against Ja and even guys like Will Coleman, and he was incredible defensively, but very raw offensively. So I would imagine
got a year to work on that, though.
He would,
whether it's on the court with the Tigers or off the court.
If he plays,
well, he can be working out right now.
Oh yeah. I have no idea. I would suspect that it's a 1-year deal. You know,
I would love to ask Charlie Leonard this. I wonder who would be the best big man coach in Shelby County that could work with him for the next year, whether it was with the Tigers or no.
Who would be the best big man coach? That is an excellent question, and I can ask Charlie. By the way, did you know Charlie is retiring? And
I did not know that.
Yeah, Charlie, I just found out, and I don't think Charlie would mind if I say it, but Charlie is going to retire, and I think he's going to move back to his hometown of Cincinnati once fall comes. And so they're probably going to make an announcement here in the next few days as to who his replacement might be. And Houston's going to be really good next year. So whoever the coach comes in and takes that job is going to have a really good team. Right off the bat.
Dave, that is something, because I promise you, I was going to reference this today with how the virus has worked, and it's hard to say goodbye at some places. We saw how very clumsy it was for Vince Carter. We know Vince Carter down the stretches of the year. We know I think the Hawks had one more time coming through FedEx Forum. No, they didn't. They had been through. They did not have one more time coming through. They had been through for the last time. But there was going to be a lot of tribute to him.
Sure.
Some of these older coaches from sports. Let's say, let's take the Doomsday Flyer, and we don't have college football in 2020. Well, the next season, Nick Saban will be turning 70 in that offseason. What if he doesn't go through the grind this fall? Recruiting is limited or not anywhere near how it used to be. He puts his feet up. He gets comfortable. He's tired of he's enjoying his grandkids, doesn't want to get back in it. Same for Boeheim. Same for Krzyzewski. Same for Huggins. Same for a lot of players. What if the NBA bubble was the last go-around for Chris Paul? It's going to be for some of these players, and we're not going to have the goodbye that we would normally have from. I don't know why Charlie's retiring. I don't. But if he had gone to the state championship last year, like he probably would have done if they had the tournament and won it, and then he retires going out as a state champion, and instead we really didn't get to have the goodbye last game on court ceremony for him, and it's going to hit a lot of places like that in sports.
Well, in
and
the case of Charlie, I think Charlie, he had a family here that was like his family in all the years that he lived, and the matriarch of that family passed away in her 90s this past year, and he still has some family in Cincinnati, and he's lost a couple of brothers in the last 2 or 3 years, and I think he's going back because of family, and
Yeah.
I think he enjoyed this year. I know he said to me he wanted to leave Houston in better shape than when he got here.
He got it,
and he's going to do that. I'm sure it's going to kill him inside because he thinks he could win another state title if he stayed one more year. But it's because
and it might even be some
family.
younger coaches.
He's going to move.
It might even be younger coaches out there that when you get this time off, that when you shut it off, you might not want to return back to the rat race. You might not want to turn back to the battle. And what if this happens? What if it is the budget devastator that we think it's going to be, and when we do try to climb back to 2021 play, you sit down with that AD and the old charter is cut out. The old way we roll is cut out. The old budget is cut out. You've got to take an appreciable pay cut is cut out. Your staff's budget's cut out. The entire way we rolled in college athletics and even in pro sports. I mean, the NBA getting ready to lose $2 billion. They're not going to roll like that next year if they have a year. You're crazy if you think we just pick right back up and start over where we once were. And people go, I really don't want to fight that. I don't want to fight B-gate 12. I don't want to fight luggage. I don't want to coach hamstrung like that budget wise after having it like this, to start out. There's going to be even younger coaches. Here's a older coach, not old by any means, but at Ole Miss, Kermit Davis. He's 62, 63 years old. Ben Howland, same age. Mm-hmm. You come back and, hey guys, it's just never going to be like it was. This is how we go forward. How much fun is that going to be?
Having gone through 62, honestly, when you look at the shape of Kermit and Ben,
I'm not talking about their physical health, Dave. I made that clear too.
I get it, but what I'm saying to you is you've still got too much energy and too much time on your hands to just do nothing. So I don't know that would be the case. Now, if you're Nick Saban and you're 70, and Lord knows there's no more for Nick Saban to accomplish, he will go down amongst the greatest college football coaches in the history of mankind. That is accepted. So I could see that because there's a difference between 62 and 70 and accomplishment level. And in no disrespect at all to Ben Howland or to Kermit Davis, because I think they're both outstanding coaches, but they've not accomplished exactly what Nick Saban has done, and so they may be a little bit more motivated in that regard to try to enhance their legacy. No, I get it. I do get what you're saying. I'm just I'm pointing out we still the world's still going to go on. You still have things to do. You still have to have something that fulfills you.
Yadier Molina, plenty of money in the bank.
Yeah,
I lived without it. Made it fine without it.
You know what? That position that I could see. Because he has struggled with injuries the last year or two, and not to play at all, which means you lose some of that conditioning. At that particular position, I could see that. Unless we have a universal DH, then who knows? Maybe he goes back to bat.
You really going to use Yadier Molina as a universal DH? You can time him with a sundial.
Probably not.
This hour brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis, offering the Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Great offers on all 2020 models. Stop by today at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and driving great. Lexus of Memphis, the highest standards in the industry. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com, 901-362-8833. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, so much of it is coronavirus related. I'm going to make that part quick. I'm going to start really with the All-Star game, which I just mentioned. We would have had it tonight in Dodger Stadium, the old Chavez Ravine. 50 years ago today, Brett, the All-Star game television rating was 28.5. 28.5.
And I know how it finished in extra innings with Leo DeRocher as the third base coach.
That is outstanding because I had forgotten that.
With Jim Hickman from Henning, Tennessee,
Yeah.
with the game-winning RBI.
Yeah, the Cub, Jim Hickman. You know what the television rating for last year's game was on Fox? 5. That's amazing. It is
3 networks in 1970.
Exactly. We've gone from 28.5 to 5. 700.
3, 5, 10, and 13 was all we had.
Yep.
And we had a remote control then. It was called me. I sat by the TV and I turned it.
Your dad said, Brett?
5,
Yeah, there
10,
you go.
3.
Well, you didn't have PBS? Come on. You had a PBS station.
I said 10, 3, 5, 10, and 13.
Oh, so 4 stations we had. 700 new cases in Shelby County. That is the highest single day we have had yet. It comes 10 days after the 4th of July. 1 new death, 5,233 tests. So really we had more tests that were backlogged, and that's a problem. Brett, when I went to get tested, what was it, 3 weeks ago or more? I got my results back within 24 hours. People are waiting over a week for their tests now. So
Drew waited almost a week.
I waited 4 days.
4 days? Some people have waited as long as 8 days now. We have such.
My mother
a
waited
backlog.
about 6 days.
Did she really? 5,233 tests. So some of this is backlogged, these 700 new cases. But at a 13.4% positivity rate. Now we've got a total of 161,000 tests at just over 9% positivity.
If you're under 34 in the state of Florida, you know what the chance of you dying from the virus is? Under 34 in Florida.
What is it?
0.000. It's 4 zeros. 34.
It's slim, but some are dying. And again, if you get how many cases at that age group, because we don't yet know if we are just ready to open everything up.
Total death rate in the state of Florida is 1.51. In Palm Beach County, 2.8% fatality rate. In Dade County, that's Miami, 1.6%.
How many cases, though? Because there are ramifications from the illness that we don't know about yet. Besides fatalities, there's permanent damage that you have to consider, in my mind, anyway. In the United States now, we have almost 3.5 million cases. We have 138,000 and about 500 who have passed away, but we've had over 1.5 million recoveries. We now in the world have over 13 million cases, 577,000 fatalities, 7.5 million who have recovered. And Brett, we have 2 new vaccines in the works. We now have 154 vaccines. Please, come on, vaccine people. Come through. Let's get this going.
My top story, we now wait for a decision from the SEC and from the rest of college football. Spring's almost no option. A full season seems like no option. Now even talking maybe 8 to 9 games, 6 to 9 games. Bowls will be wrecked. And not just the ESPN programming bowls like the FBC Mortgage Cure Bowl or the Bahamas Bowl or the Cheez-It Bowl, but traditional long-standing bowls like the Sun Bowl, the Gator Bowl, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. It could be catastrophic for them. I hope all the people that find so much wrong every year at bowl time with all the bowls and find so much wrong every year with college football, I hope they're happy. And sadly, I think some really are.
I think if we have any bowl season, whether that be in May or that be in December, if they can have some people, like 25 to 50% of the stadiums, I think feasibly, financially, most of those bowls that you mentioned can make it. I think if it's down to 2,000 or 3,000 or no people, I don't think they'll play the bowl because financially it would wreck them because they'd still have to pay all those people. My not top story today, it's not a not top story, but it's a secondary story, but it's a good one if we play. Brady White named to the Davey O'Brien watch list. That's for the top quarterback in the country. He is one of 30. Last year, 4,014 yards passed at 33 touchdowns. And boy, now there's a guy. Would he get a seventh year if they didn't play this year? That would be the first time in history that could happen. He could get 2 doctorates if that were the case. And those are your top and your not top stories of
I didn't give
day.
my not, but go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's all right. It's time to go to the break.
All right, we'll get it on the other end. This is Sports Time on Sports 56.
Search Sports 56 on Facebook and give us a like. And follow us on Twitter at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Blood and plasma donations are more important than ever. People all around the world still depend on the medicine your plasma helps make. That's why Interstate Blood Bank and Plasma Biological Services are open and will remain open for our donors. The United States government has declared blood and plasma donation as a critical infrastructure industry. That means healthy donors are allowed to travel to and from donation centers regardless of any stay-at-home mandates in your area. We need you to keep donating so that we can continue to manufacture these life-saving medicines. We understand that you may be concerned about COVID-19. The health and safety of our donors and our employees remain a top priority. To limit the spread of the virus, we're taking additional measures to ensure our centers are safe and clean. Donating now is more important than ever, but please do not come to the center to donate if you are not feeling well or have a sore throat, fever, cough, or shortness of breath. We are doing our part so that you can do yours. Come donate today at one of our IBBI or PBS locations across the Memphis area. Great news, sports fans! The Butcher Shop Steakhouse is now open for dine-in service. Make a reservation and enjoy a mouth-watering steak dinner. Or, if you prefer, take it curbside. In addition to their fantastic steaks, the Butcher Shop Steakhouse has a variety of entrees, including Canadian lobster tail, crab-stuffed shrimp, pan-seared red snapper, and fresh ground steak burger with portobello mushroom sauce. Planning to cook out? The Butcher Shop Steakhouse offers a great selection of fresh Angus beef, hand-cut steaks and burgers, lamb chops, Atlantic salmon, and more. Make your reservation for dine-in or pre-order for curbside pickup. The Butcher Shop Steakhouse, dine-in, curbside, and delivery. Plus, enjoy the sizzle of top-quality Butcher Shop steaks on your own grill. Call us at 757-4244 and visit our website, thebutchershop.com, for menus and more. The Butcher Shop Steakhouse, Walnut Grove and Germantown Parkway.
Hi, this is Rob Brown. Join Pete Cordelli and me for Sidelines, Saturday mornings, 8 to 10 a.m. on Sports 56, 87.7, and 96.1 FM. We'll cover the Memphis Tigers, the SEC, recruiting. Hey, if they keep score, we're covering it. Check us out on the website at sports56whbq.com and sidelines.live. Sidelines is brought to you by Duncan Williams Asset Management. Saturday mornings, 8 to 10 a.m. Get up and give us a call.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
We like to party.
Welcome back in as we cruise through our very first hour on this gorgeous Tuesday. Wolo and Stats with you until 6. We always enjoy talking with our friend Daryl Smith, who is the tournament director of the World Golf Championship, the FedEx St. Jude Invitational. And up until really last week, we were thinking we were going to get some folks here. They'd already built a couple of structures anyway on the grounds at Southwind. And then there was a collaboration, and I think it was more tour than it was the Shelby County Health Department, but the decision was made. The WGC will go on. It will go on without fans. Daryl Smith does join us now. Good afternoon, Daryl. I know that, like all of us, had to pain you a little bit to make that announcement.
Yeah, good afternoon, and thanks for having me on. And, it's been an interesting last 5 months, ever since COVID-19 became a became a reality. And of course, we made an announcement, last week that the tournament is going to still be contested and still be played here at TPC Southwind, but we are going to move forward without fans on site. And that was a extremely tough decision, and one that was very collaborative in nature, and spent a lot of time on a robust health and safety plan that we were all very, very comfortable with. But in the end, the most prudent decision for us was to contest the competition without fans on site. And it'll be definitely a surreal moment when we get to tournament week here in a couple weeks. But we said from day one that the health and safety is our number one priority, and that will remain our number one priority as we conduct the event.
Daryl, what will be your medical protocol? What has been your orientation from the PGA Tour, and how quickly will they get to town and set up everything for like the permanent staff, like you and many others, and then everybody that will be allowed onto the premises?
Yeah, so we've developed a partnership with Sanford Health, and it's a roving laboratory that will come to town, and we'll have the resources that we need to test the constituents that will need to go through COVID-19 testing. There will still be, about 1,000 people that will be on property throughout a day to conduct the competition. When you look at, players and caddies, staff, a very small number of volunteers, and out of that 1,000 or so, I would expect about 300 to be tested. And we'll go through a full COVID-19 testing, and then of course we'll have different protocols in place, about social distancing, and we'll be offering all of our volunteers PPE. So it'll be very comprehensive and robust. I mean, we want to definitely take the protocols that have been in place on the PGA Tour since we returned to golf, and we're going to implement those on site. And as we all know, some of those things have changed over the weeks, and if there are changes between now and then, we'll implement those changes as well. So it's a very well thought out plan that is, the safety of everybody is going to be the number one priority again.
I'm assuming that the closer you get to the players, that you get a little more scrutiny. For instance, would you, Jack Salmons, are if you're going to be close to the players, are you required by the PGA now to be tested prior to the event?
There's definitely, there's a category of people. If you think of the golf course as a bubble, there's a group of individuals that are considered inside the bubble, and the TPC Southwind Clubhouse will be considered one of the primary inside the bubble areas. So anybody that has to have access to the clubhouse, which will primarily be players and caddies and, some essential staff to the operation, those individuals will be tested. Our whole staff will not have to be tested just because their interactions with, players and caddies or officials is not maybe as robust as maybe myself. But there is a good number of us that will go through a testing procedure. It will touch a lot of different areas of the tournament.
We're talking with Daryl.
Will mask and PPE be required on the grounds by people that are out there?
Yeah, so that's a good question, Brett. I mean, we've always said that whatever the local guidance is in the community that we're playing in, that we will abide by that guidance. Of course, we are aware that there is a mask ordinance in the city of Memphis. Most of our time is going to be spent outdoors, of course. Just talking to some of my colleagues that have already produced a tournament with no fans. Players and caddies, there's not a lot of hanging out and congregating. Players and caddies are coming to a golf course. They might go in the locker room, change their shoes, go on the range, hit a few balls, and they'll play golf and, leave pretty soon after their completion of their round. So, while we are in public spaces or in spaces inside the clubhouse, of course, masks will be something that we will strongly encourage, if not require. But if you are, outside on the ground, the most important thing is to maintain that social distancing. But PPE will be readily available to all of our volunteers, players and caddies. We've packaged up different sanitary products for them as well as masks, and you've seen in, several of these past tournaments that players, while they're, actually inside the ropes competing, we haven't seen players wear a mask, but there has been some, as players finish their round and they go into scoring that, masks are put on. So, a lot of that is to the player's discretion, but, we will have all that available for them.
We're talking with our friend Daryl Smith, Executive Director of the WGC FESJI. In a normal year, you've got all these volunteers, including some that are sort of witnesses. They carry the scoring standard. Well, that obviously won't be needed. But will there be those kinds of people that will walk with the groups, or is this just going to be guys in carts that are rules officials that will be out there other than the players and the TV crew and caddies?
Yeah, there'll be about 200 volunteers on property, Thursday through Sunday. The majority of those volunteers will be tied to our scoring system, which is called ShotLink. Mm-hmm. Of course, those individuals are placed in the fairway at different locations and around the green that we can, transfer that information of, where that shot landed back to our scoring system. And we'll also have scoring markers within each group that will, be the ones that actually score the competition from, going to PGAtour.com and seeing the latest news and scores. Those volunteers will be part of the actual experience this year. And then there'll be a handful of other volunteers that are, really tied to player essential areas. So is that our transportation committee. We're fortunate that we have a great partner in Landers Ford that has, supported this tournament for so long. We're still going to be able to, provide courtesy cars to our players. And our transportation committee will be, working really early in the week to, make sure that those cars get to Memphis International or they get to a FBO and, they're properly sanitized before that player gets into that car and has that car the rest of the week. And then, our caddy committee will still be around and on property to help with caddies and caddy bib distribution. So, most of the volunteers are going to be on the scoring side of the house, and then also, those that have interactions with, with our players and our caddies.
They're on the player commitment front, very different than it used to be when it was just the regular PGA Tour stop now with the WGC. And as you told our audience 2 weeks ago, we're going to have a maximum of 78 players in the field, and that's up from last year. When do you think those will start trickling in more? I know what the deadline is the week before, but when do you think you can unveil some actual firmed up player announcement?
Yeah, we've been very cautious of just how we announced player commitments this year just because we knew that we were dealing with a very fluid situation in the golf tournament. And, we want to be very transparent with our fans and with our supporters that, we need to make a larger general announcement of what this golf tournament would look like before we, made player announcements. And our first player announcement will be tomorrow. So we're excited about that. It'll shape up to be a very exciting announcement. I mean, with the WGC, we know that the best players in the world are, typically they make these a priority. And I think with tomorrow's announcement that, that will definitely be the case.
Huh.
You can tell us now, Tiger. Go ahead.
Are we gonna get a name?
Go ahead, Daryl.
Are we gonna get a name we haven't had before?
Well, I mean, right now, everybody wants to, immediately go to Tiger Woods, and I think it's safe to say that, Tiger, if he decides to play, that will be an announcement that will be closer to the tournament. That won't be an announcement that I expect to, be had 2 weeks out. But I think we'll see some familiar faces. This tournament has been, so successful over the years, and we're fortunate that, a certain player like Dustin Johnson has been so loyal to us and has won earlier this year. And, we're also excited about Daniel Berger making his return back to Memphis.
Yeah.
And, Daniel becoming eligible and has been playing some great golf this year. It's going to be a special moment for him to, be a two-time winner back-to-back to, come back to TPC Southwind and to compete for a World Golf Championship. So there's a little hint of some of the familiar names that might be in that announcement, but we're looking forward to making it official tomorrow.
For Daniel Berger, it'll be a little different, though. He only wins in the second week of June. All
that's
his
right.
tournaments have come in the second week of June. But he does play this golf course so darn well. We've already heard hints, Brooks Koepka, Rory McIlroy, I would think Dustin Johnson, who is a winner of the FESJC, would want to come out and play this thing. But we'll find out tomorrow. That is for sure. Your first list will come out. The excitement level is still there. This is CBS, right? So they have their full crews, and we will still get to watch probably as much or more than we've had before through the Golf Channel and through CBS. True?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we've got great broadcast partners. We're on air longer than we ever have been on air. From the past years. Similar to what we were last year, the World Golf Championship. But one thing about the World Golf Championships is there's a longer TV window, which makes a lot of sense when you have the best players in the world, competing over 4 days of competition with no cut. So, there will be no shortage of opportunities to tune in on the Golf Channel. And, of course, on CBS, we are going to, we'll go 1 to 5 on CBS on Saturday. And then on Sunday, we're actually a little bit of change. We're going to go to 2 to 6. We typically finish at 5 o'clock on Sunday, but a little bit different TV window for us this year. But, there's, as I told everybody, I mean, while it is a challenging year and the tournament is going to look a lot different than it did last year, there is still some excitement that, this is going to be broadcast all across the globe, and it's going to have a field that is going to be, star-studded, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see these guys, come to Memphis and, the week before the PGA as well. So, I mean, PGA Championship being on the West Coast, it's going to be a lot of fun for those 2 weeks, of golf, and especially when a PGA Championship goes to California and primetime golf the next week. So we're hoping for a unbelievable broadcast that will showcase the city of Memphis, and of course, talk about the great things about this community, which are FedEx and St. Jude, and everything that is extremely important to us.
I've already seen some of the promos, and they look, terrific for this tournament. They always show the river and the skyline and Southwind and Brooks Koepka from last year. I think you get a little snippet in there too. You're getting some national airtime. Weird question for you. They'd already built a tower for fans. It wasn't big. It was more a skybox on the 18th. Are they going to take that down before the tournament?
Yeah, that's already down, as a matter of fact. So we, there's a lot to this thing that comes down a lot quicker than it goes up. But when we made the decision that we were going to build some hospitality, and we were hopeful, and we were willing to take that chance, and our partners were committed to us. They wanted to be a part of something, be a part of the tournament. And, unfortunately, the cards didn't fall in the direction we needed them to. But also, we're very comfortable with the decision that we made. And that decision of being, hey, the health and safety of everybody involved is what has to be our guiding principle. So when we got that news, we really started taking down the infrastructure that we had in place immediately, and it's already down. And, we're going to be throwing some fertilizer out there and making sure it's a good backdrop for our broadcast.
Daryl, we hate it. You know that as a radio station, we will still cover it as best we possibly can with the protocols that you put before us and the limitations that you might have to put before us. We understand that. This show in particular will do everything we can to cover it. And we thank you for coming on today. And shoot us the list as soon as you get it tomorrow. We'll put it on.
You bet. I appreciate you guys, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you. Daryl Smith, Executive Director of the WGC FESJS. So we did learn tomorrow. Brett, we'll get our first look at the list, and I got a feeling the
and it's not Tiger.
No, not yet. Not for at least a week, right? He usually waits almost till the deadline on, 4 o'clock Friday, the week before? I think that's what it is.
Yes.
Yeah. We shall see. We will absolutely see. This portion of the show brought to you by Family Leisure. We're sitting in the Family Leisure studios, and you can save now on the 2021 swimming pool that you were going to buy if you buy it now with 2020 pricing. And by the way, you save your spot for the first installation of 2021, and they've never had a busier year than they've had this year. By the way, patio furniture, as we start to wind down the summer, hard to believe I'm saying that, but heck, we're in the middle of July. It's 20 to 30% off. Play gyms, those cool things, they're in stock now. And you can beat the heat with an indoor game, table or slate pool table. You can get it all. Pool toys and floats. Now they're up to 30% off. Just get to I-40 and Whidden Road. Make a reservation if you want to feel safer. They'll come out to you at Family Leisure at I-40 and Whidden Road. We take a break and then put a wrap on hour number 1 here on this Tuesday edition of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallow and Stats.
Spend your lunch with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy on Sports 56 middays, delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 to 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses will buy a house in any area, in any condition, and yes, it's guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your home quickly, call 901-406-1101. If you've been through a divorce, if you lost your job, if you're tired of renters, I Buy Houses can get you your money quickly. I Buy Houses will buy your home in Shelby County, DeSoto County, Memphis, Bartlett, South Haven, Horn Lake, Olive Branch, anywhere and everywhere in between, in any condition. And yes, they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that pen, 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallow and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
What I'm saying is, this is the anthem. Throw all your hands up. Y'all got to feel me. Sing if you're with me. Yeah. I wanna be just like you.
Welcome in as we cruise through this day. Could be a big day tomorrow for Penny Hardaway. We mentioned Musa Cisse, and we did not have a chance to talk. I'm sure you discussed it, Brett, when the announcement was made last week, and I was gone, that the Tigers have come up with a home and home against St. Louis. If you take a look at the scheduling that Penny has done, trying to get as many of the local area schools involved and getting all these SEC teams involved and trying to get back to, I hear he's trying to get back to Maui. I know he's got us in Atlantis this year if that goes on. But he's
Maui's set for 2024.
Is it all the way through 2024? That's almost like football.
Yeah, an open records request from the commercial appeal divulged that.
Oh, so Memphis is in Maui in 2024. Fantastic. I missed that one, too. So he's really, think about the way he has upgraded this schedule from, no offense to Josh Pastner, but Josh, he was not really interested in playing as many great teams as Penny is, and neither was Tubby. And there's no doubt Penny wants to play the very best.
Now, you can't play everybody on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
Right.
But if the St. Louis game is any of those 3 days, when it's the game up there, there will be a great number of Tiger fans that make that trip.
No question. We used to go. I love that trip. I always loved going. We used to play that in.
And you'll love the new arena. Chaffetz Arena is very, very nice.
I've seen it on TV. I've never seen it in person. But they used to play. It was once Kiel Auditorium, and it was once the
old Kiel.
The old Kiel.
Old arena.
How about the old Checker Dome? Remember that? That was didn't
arena,
that become
Checker
Kiel?
Dome, same thing.
Yeah, that's right.
No, the arena and the Checker Dome was the same building. Old Kiel was distinctly Old Kiel, and then New Kiel, New Savas, New Scottrade was nice. It was a little utilitarian. It was a little bit pyramid-esque.
It was.
But nice and a
liked
big
it.
upgrade.
Yeah.
A big upgrade over old Kiel.
Oh, yeah. And
over old Arena
right.
in Checkerdome.
But what's the name of the building that the Blues play in now?
Scottrade.
The last year or two that Memphis played against St. Louis, they played in that building. I'm almost certain of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was nice.
And it was really nice, but they've got their own on-campus deal, and I think it seats, 8,000, something like that?
It's perfect. It's the perfect size when it's a good team, and they've got a good coach now, and they've had good teams. And Bob Ramsey, the voice of the Bills, they got a good announcer, and when they've got good teams, it's just enough. And when they don't, and it's not a great crowd, it doesn't look like vast empty seats. Dave, this is just now breaking. The Mississippi equivalent of the TWSAA for public schools, they've approved a plan for high school football. Practice will start August 17th. Games can start September 1st or after in Mississippi.
Wow. Well, that's big news. So high school football.
That's 2 weeks later than normal.
In Mississippi is just being delayed 2 weeks, but they're going on with the show. I wonder what does that mean for a timetable, and I'm just asking this out loud. I don't know if you know the answer, for them to start really practicing. I would assume
August 17th, first day of practice for Mississippi.
August 17th, so a little more than a month from now they will be going. That is obviously a good positive story on this day, and one that we could certainly use. You mentioned schools and going back to schools. A reminder to any parents that are listening from Shelby County Schools, you have, I think it is until Saturday, this coming Saturday, to make your decision. And I mentioned to you, Brett, the other day that you have two choices. One, send your kids to school, and that is kindergarten through 12, K to 12, or virtually. You will learn virtually with a computer that will be given to you by Shelby County Schools. And I don't know what the percentage of responses are, but yesterday I read the story. The parents are overwhelmingly at this point, and again, these aren't final numbers, but at the point that they gave us yesterday of those that have responded, 77% were going to do it virtually.
How are they going to distribute and handle nutrition, both breakfast and lunch, for a lot of students?
That's a good question. That is a fair and a very good question, and I do not know. I know that when the pandemic first hit and there was a loss of those nutritional opportunities for especially the younger people, Shelby County Schools through, I think it was the YMCAs, were distributing meals. And maybe that will be a process that continues. I do not know the answer to that, but a very good and pertinent question.
And will it be normal funding, or will it be increased? Would that have been in the CARES Act? I just don't know. Would be more legislation needed?
I do not know. I've not seen a plan on food
Dave,
at all.
We've really, and the pandemic has disclosed a lot of states really like to be very independent on things. Leave us alone, big federal government. Don't tell us what to do. But then when they need the federal government, help us out. And that has been one of the big battles through the years. Some even thinking that there should not even be a federal education department. There should not be the Department of Education. Lamar Alexander at one time, even when he was Secretary of Education, wanted to eliminate it. And now you're seeing that a lot of states are really wanting to turn to the federal government, and the federal government are wanting to tell them more what to do, and that's always the yin and yang of it. Just give me the check, but don't tell me what to do.
Right, exactly. And that is the first hour in the book. When we come back, a lot of college football to talk about. Our friend from down in Jacksonville, Florida, Brent Beard. We got lots to try to get into in just a minute. This is Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallow and Stats.
summertime and the living is easy. No more cutting or paying utilities. Literally, you guys, Town Village Audubon Park, nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. Looking for a great place to retire, but you still have a very active lifestyle? Then visit Town Village. Only requirements that you're 55 plus. Prices per month starting at $24.50. The Gourmet Chef welcomes you to visit our restaurant and bistro. Package includes 3 complimentary meals per day, maid service, free local transportation, monthly coffee club, themed dinner parties, lots of fun. Visit us and call Daniel or Bo at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home. Town Village Audubon Park.
You'll see the dedication in every single step. You'll see it in the smiles when smiles are hard to get. You'll see it in the little things that add up to success. The caring and passion are the things that we love best.
Wolf Chase Limb Brace is your Mid-South provider for orthotics and prosthetics. They are an ABC accredited facility and their practitioners are ABC certified. At Wolf Chase Limb Brace, their services include artificial limbs, legs and arms, braces of all kinds, and custom molded inserts. You can call them today at 901-507-7821 for their location on Highway 64 in between Germantown Parkway and Appling Road, or visit them at their new location in Jackson, Tennessee. That number is 731-660-5900, or visit them on the web at wolfchaselemembrace.com.
Dedicated our life to yours. Wolf Chase Limb and Brace.
There's a new commissary in town in Collierville. Germantown Commissary is doubling. Yeah, they're still going to have the old Germantown Commissary by the tracks, but now there's a huge new Germantown Commissary in Collierville at Poplar and Houston Levee Road. It's huge, too. There's a drive-through. There's plenty of parking. No telephone pole to get in your way. Patio. It's right by the track, so the tradition continues. And this is a tradition that's been around forever. That commissary is famous for hickory-smoked, slow-cooked Memphis-style barbecue. They've got a private party room at the new one in Collierville. Self-catering still continues. Party packs for $5.95. Basically, the great ribs, the great pulled shoulder, the great deviled eggs. Everything is there in Collierville and Germantown now. So there is now a Germantown and Collierville style of barbecue. It's called Germantown Commissary.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome in on this Tuesday afternoon. Today, the All-Star game was supposed to be played. Hopefully, baseball is going to get played. 11 umpires opted out today. That's not good news. Houston, where they're supposed to play some baseball, maybe going backwards. Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner announcing today that they should probably shut down for 2 weeks minimum to quell the pandemic. If not, at least go back to phase one. We'll see what happens in Houston, Texas. The one good news story of the day when it comes to the pandemic, because we had 700 new cases in Shelby County today. That good news is in Mississippi, they have decided they're going to go ahead with football 2 weeks later than they normally were going to. Football practice will begin on August the 17th.
And Dave, I see a lot of people, and I know where they're coming from, and we're trying to do the best we can. But I see a lot of people on Twitter tweeting out and like a collage of the SEC football coaches or whatever star from sports or sound and screen or whomever you may look up to, and and it's basically the message of put the mask on, 6 weeks of this, and we can choke it out. If that's the case, why in the world were we not doing this and making this mandatory or more of an emphasis a lot sooner than this? When we had on May 21st, New England Journal of Medicine say you don't need to wear a mask. On May 28th, you had you had the CDC saying a mask is basically theatrics. It's not doing anything. In the early stages of it, you had Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci himself saying masks aren't necessary. We need them for frontline medical workers more than we need just, somebody walking around in a city park on them. Now they're saying 6 weeks of it can choke it out, but 12 weeks ago they were telling us not to wear them.
Well, everything does change. Fauci is actually I heard.
Of course, it changes with him.
I heard him say he made that statement initially because he really felt they had a shortage of the equipment they needed, and that he wanted that equipment to directly go to the frontliners before it went anywhere else.
We couldn't have made cloth masks,
and there have been mistakes made. There's no question, and we should not have probably opened up as quickly as we did. Maybe we wouldn't be in this case in the situation that we are now. But I'm certainly willing to try the 6 weeks, aren't you?
I'm willing to try it. I was willing 12 weeks ago.
Okay. In the meantime, Brent Beard joins us now from Jacksonville, Florida. His notes exhaustive this week. Last time I talked to you was a couple of weeks ago. Really not that much has changed with this exception. Big Ten said conference-only games. The Pac-12 followed a couple of days later with that same thing. Yesterday, a big meeting in Birmingham with the SEC schools. They did not make that announcement. What do you think, Brent, is the intention? If this is a perfect world, we can choke this thing out. What do you think is really going to happen 2 weeks from now when the SEC decides their path?
Well, I think first of all, to answer your question, it's now kind of gotten real to people now that we're getting closer to the season. I see a lot of tweets, as Brett mentioned, not only what he said, but from players on all levels of stuff such as we want to play, let us play, and things like that. Look, I've got two millennials, and I love them, but at the same time, they have a real sense of the future to them is 10 minutes from now, not 10 days or 10 weeks, guys, but 10 minutes from now. That's about as forward thinking as they go at times. So I wish that was not the case, and they would have prepared more than they have. But that's unfortunate way it is. Look, I still think we can play football this year. Now, are we going to start on time? Probably not. I do think the Big Ten jumped the gun in their decision. I think that was some pressure they got, from what my understanding was, probably from their presidents in moving too quickly. And then obviously the Pac-12, who has joined at the hip with them because the Rose Bowl, are going to do the same thing. I think the more prudent approach has been from the Big 12 and from the SEC and from the ACC, and just waiting to see where we're going. I still think they've got a pretty good plan. I mean, the plan the NCAA had in the beginning was to start ramping things up this week, be more intentional on the field, a little more instruction. Next week ramps it up more, and then you've got camp coming up on August the 7th. I mean, guys, there's still a lot that can happen between now and then. I mean, what I think they're going to do, I think they'll probably still end up with probably something akin to modified, mostly conference schedule that probably starts mid-September, mid-October. But look, right now, I would take that and go with it.
Yeah, Brent, but I'm with you, and I've heard, I've done some shows today. I've been a guest on some shows yesterday and today, and I hear a lot of people, and I'm with you. We'll at this point we'll take what we can get. Why are we having to settle for the air quotes here, the new normal? I know the answer is the virus, but the virus is not new. The virus just didn't pop up. In fact, back to the previous dialogue. As we were bringing you on, I can remember in late April, early May, the President of the United States saying we were in a wartime footing, that we were at war. Well, how'd we do? Did we win?
Well, I think it's rather obvious that a lot of the times we
got skunked,
and the scoreboard favors the COVID. But and still, there's a lot that we don't know. But I mean, I'm with you. If we had, and some other countries have done this, if we had really maybe realized what we were dealing with back several months ago, we wouldn't have be on the verge of not having sports seasons the way we are now. I'm sorry that it's taken that long. I'm glad that a lot more folks who got their attention. There's still a lot more that we won't, and they won't realize it until we've got a much reduced season than we normally do. But yeah, if we would have done what we should have done, we'd be in much better shape. We'd be ahead of the game now instead of still trailing.
You think when they end up with this plan, they'll play conference games, non-conference games? How many games? I was thinking, just selfishly for the University of Memphis, there's 3 teams that will have open games that were connected to the Pac-12 if they are able to play 12 games. And Alabama has an opening. Texas A&M has an opening. In the Big 12, TCU has an opening. If you're a guy like Laird Veach, are you going to go after one of those games because you got an opening with the Purdue loss on the second week of the season? But will Alabama, will A&M, will they play 12 games? What do you think ends up happening with these schools?
I think they'll probably end up playing probably closer to 10. And now, obviously, being down here, now, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but as you can imagine with Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and Clemson fans, and numerous in this area, they all want those ACC, SEC games to go on. I don't know how, and then if you're talking about bringing in maybe some of these, having an 8-game SEC schedule and then 2 extra games against the SEC foes that don't count in the standings. I would, boy, it'd be tough to be the schedule maker, wouldn't it, guys?
It would be.
If you made sure those 3 big rivalries were still going on, what would you do to appease the rest of the league? That would not.
We may have lost Brent.
No, I'm here.
Oh,
I'm here. Yeah. I sorry, had a call that was coming in at the same time. Technology's wonderful.
Tell them to go away, Brent.
Yeah.
It's 4:00 on Tuesday. It's our time with you. You're right, Brent, on the scheduling.
Internet service people would understand that. But you guys
that's right. They need to.
Anybody else?
That's right. They should know our schedule by now. But Brent, you're right, and I applaud the Navy athletics director today, saying that if there's one game they play in 2020, it'll be against Army. Right. Well, I've been to that game. I love that game. I know the historical premise and ramifications that it is set on. But if you start giving them a pass, well then, hey, how about Georgia and Georgia Tech? We played just as long. And hey, how about this one? How about Notre Dame and USC? They don't want to miss out on each other. So when we start that, and that's why I was so, and I am so very angry at the lack of leadership exhibited by Greg Sankey. He played defense. He was a follower. He was not a leader. And there's no way that Mike Slive and Roy Kramer would ever play let's follow the leader. They would have been leading. They knew they were the poobahs of college football. And I've thought for a while that Greg Sankey was reticent at best and scared at worst to get out there because the criticism's going to be heavy for him no matter what. Whether it means too much to him, that boy down in the South, they'll do anything to play. He's going to catch that no matter what. Lead and let everybody else follow, and the chips fall where they may, and he didn't. And now the Big Ten and the Pac-12, they've gotten what they've always wanted, the same number of conference games. They've also gotten what they wanted. It's going to be champions only in New Year's Six bowls, and that means the end of a second SEC team when everybody knows the second SEC team is better than the champion of some of those other conferences.
Listen, I agree with that very much. Mike Slive, I think, would have nailed this. and listen, I think Schleib would have said something similar to what Roger Goodell would have said. That Roger Goodell said was, guys, sit up and take notice. We're playing ball this year, and whatever you think
if
of the
we
NFL,
can.
They did that, and I give him a lot of credit with that. I do wonder too, Brett, if Jim Delaney had been still the Big Ten commissioner, would they have pulled the trigger on this as soon as they did? And I'm telling you, listen, that's a great point. Whatever comes Sankey's way, these guys are going to have to be steadfast. They're going to have to be tremendous leaders by carrying forth regards to the criticism. And whatever the media writes about them that they don't like about this, they've got to be able to ignore that. And I'll tell you what, guys, there's a couple of things in this is a sermon on another day, but what it needs to be into is, I know Tim Brando's called it a czar, but I'm not sure that we don't really need to look at something like that down the road, because Mark Emmert hasn't given any real leadership with this either.
We don't want
his supportive role, and I give him credit for that, but they've done very little. I think this year, again, what Brett said, they ought to expand the playoffs, at least for this year. And get, and I don't mean to 16, but I mean to 6 or 8 to be more representative in that situation. And I tell you guys, I'm more the concern. I know we talked about this a lot, and if some people get tired of hearing it, I don't care. But the non-Power 5, we've got to do something to help these folks in this situation and beyond. I don't know what that's going to be, whether they're still playing at another time of the year, have their own TV contract, playoff, or whatever. We haven't fleshed that out yet. But that's a group I'm very concerned about with this situation.
I don't blame you. If you look at just the loss of the Big Ten games for the MAC, that is a loss of $17 million.
Right.
It's real money.
That is the kind of money, and you know, I was infatuated with what you sent out, and basically the Big Ten, and you know, we talk about the SEC, and I guess with their new deal when it comes in from the acceleration of the Saturday package that CBS has had, that their numbers then will be better. But if we go to what the numbers were for 2019, and I get this from the fantastic notes that were sent out to me by you, the Big Ten gets $55 million.
Mm-hmm.
The SEC in 2019 got $45 million. Heck, the Big Ten got almost double what the ACC schools were getting. That was, and you're talking about 27 to 34 million, I think, depending on the deal that the ACC schools were getting. Which, by the way, if they're getting $55.6 million, which is what you had for the Big Ten, then Purdue ought to pay $750,000 to Memphis for not playing them this year. But
really,
you know, Memphis gets somewhere from $3 to $5 million, and it's my understanding that if you're a MAC school, Sunbelt school, any school, Power 5 school, if you're going to do testing for these teams, it's going to cost you about $500,000.
Yes.
So it's $500,000. If you're already losing $17 million, you're a MAC in the MAC, and now you're talking about every school's got to pay $500,000 for testing, and there's no TV money coming in, or even the American where there is some TV money coming in. I mean, there's no way financially you can make it. If you're the Big Ten, if you're any of those Power 5 schools, even the ACC that's getting in the mid-20s, you still play 10 of your games. Okay, you're going to lose some money, but you're going to get enough revenue where you will be in the black for the year. I'm not sure that's the case of any of the others, including the Americans. So is it even fiscally responsible to play? And I don't know the answer to that.
Well, I do think that there's got to be something that the schools that have canceled these non-conference games, let's say the SEC, for instance. I mean, like, for instance, Alabama plays Kent State. Now, I know that, but use that as an example. I mean, look, as a token of generosity or whatever, they need to pay Kent State a decent chunk of money for not being able to get that game and being able to reschedule it. I mean, Dave, to your point, I mean, even the Iowa State AD said that if they don't play this fall, they could be expected to lose $40 million over the next 6 months. And listen, I don't care who you are in what league, that's definitely, unless you're the SEC, that's difficult money to be able to deal with. So that's what I'm saying. As now is your. I learned this from Brett years ago when we started the radio. Is you need to be thinking about two things. You need to be thinking about the immediate, and you need to be thinking about the future. And the immediate is, how do you cover yourself now? The future is, what do you do outside the box to protect yourself 5, 10, to 15 years from now?
It's like every SEC AD. They need to be worried about two things, football and fundraising, and everything else to take care of itself.
Yeah, it does, don't it? Yeah, yes. There's no question about that. And the reality of it is, Brett, how much harder is it than right now to be fundraising?
Impossible.
People in this economy that is going on, that's not going to be easy. But at the same time, I remember when Mal Moore makes this statement when he was in Alabama. It said that they hired him to be a fundraiser, go out and tell Bear Bryant stories and raise money. And he said, people thought I was crazy by doing this, but now they see that even in those lean times, I wasn't crazy, and it paid off. So that's a good point.
Well, there was also, as long as we're talking about all this money, wasn't there some sort of insurance that was tied in? For instance, we know Wimbledon is actually paying the players to not come this year,
right?
Because they took out for all these years an exorbitant force majeure clause. They paid for that in their deal with an insurance company, and so they got paid. They got all the revenue they would have from the insurance company. What was the SEC insurance story?
Now, the note that I've got on that raised the same question that you're raising is they basically had, and we may miss the number a little bit, but you get the point, that we've had like 40 non-conference games that have been canceled. And the question is, and people will be digging into this, I think, pretty quickly over the next few weeks, even with the money that the SEC has got, and they've got a lot. I mean, guys, 40 games and the money that you would have for 40 games, that's still a hunk of money, whoever does your insurance, is it not?
Yeah, significant. No question about that. So I'm going to go back again to something that I don't know, that you said 10 games. You think in those 10 games for this season that the SEC would play 8 conference and 2 non-conference, or would it be?
Maybe if they decide to keep it all in-house. And again, they played 8 for so many years, or do they want to change that, as Brad said a few minutes ago, with the Big Ten and some of these other leagues trying to force them into doing something different and to get above 8? That's what I'm wondering, guys, is are they going to say, okay, we're going to play 10 games here, and 8 of them are going to be conference games, and 2 others we're going to count as non-conference games. At this point, but with that saying, maybe would they say we're going to play 10 and be hopeful they can get 8 or 9 in at least.
And even some reports out there that might be front loaded with more of the traditional back-end rivalry games, maybe even played first to make sure to get those in. Yesterday, Mike Norvell hit the field with his team. Today, Lane Kiffin was on the field with his team. It was mandatory reporting at a lot of places over the last few days. Mike Norvell and the FSU tenure, it's underway.
Yeah, it is. They are. they're still optimistic there. Now, listen, one thing, guys, and keep this in mind with FSU, and they're not different than a lot of people, even though they're in the ACC. They have taken, now some of these coaches have taken a 10% cut, but a lot of these FSU coaches have taken like a 25 and a 20% cut along that line too, and see what a lot of people don't understand about FSU, and you guys do, but FSU does not have the alumni in the booster base that, say, a Florida does, or your typical SEC team. So they don't have the deep pockets that some of these other schools do. So these are things for them that are quite crucial, and this can be fascinating to see what the ACC does. I think they'll watch and see what the SEC does, and then they will do something similar. But yeah, there's still a lot of optimism about the recruiting, about what he's going to do with this football team. They look, are they going to beat Clemson? No. But the reality is they do think they're going to be much better. It's a shame that West Virginia game probably won't be played. It's going to be interesting. And they announced today in 2021 that they're going to play Notre Dame in their opener on Sunday night of Labor Day. So they already get that one in the books. But a good point. That a lot of excitement in Tallahassee, but with some apprehension about that they don't have, frankly, the money some of these other schools do.
Well, your point's well taken. He did. Mike took a 25% pay cut, and if you look at the television money that you put out there in your notes, they literally make $15 to $18 million. The ACC schools, including Florida State, less than a SEC school would. So. And we've seen it across the board. Lots of Big 12 schools, mandatory pay cuts. Well, we've seen it. The University of Memphis with a 14% across the board pay cut. Well, I shouldn't say pay cut for the staff, but there was a 14% drop in the budget. Yes. So I don't know where that money is coming from specifically, but I know that there is a 14% cut. I don't know if by next week we'll have many more answers, but it's pretty obvious. In 2 weeks we will, because he's saying late July, Sankey did, they will put out the plan.
Yeah, and that's going to be fascinating to see of how it does go. And again, hopefully we'll make some real progress in this, and there will be some more optimism than what we've got right now. But at this point, I mean, it looks like it's going to be a modified schedule, in that we need to prepare for a year that we haven't had. But again, if you play 10, that's going to leave you a little bit of wiggle room to either add somebody, or if you've got to play with adding somebody late, something of that nature, or tweaking something that hopefully will give you enough wiggle room in order to do it.
He is our friend Brent Beard in Jacksonville, Florida, northern Florida, not nearly as bad as it is down in southern Florida or central Florida, but stay healthy, my friend, and we will do this again next week.
Appreciate you both very much, and we'll look forward to it, guys.
You got it. Thank you, Brent Beard.
Thank you, Brent.
This portion of the show, in fact, this hour, the show is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. That is in Olive Branch, Mississippi. It's right down Highway 78. That's Lamar in Memphis. The very first exit in Mississippi's Craft Road. You know it. You've been by it a million times. You turn left right there. You go see Chris True and all the gang. They've been there forever. Always with this wonderful product, this new technology from Hyundai and from Genesis, a step up, that is so safe, so sophisticated, so durable. You get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty on every car. And now, right now, 0% financing on all the new cars on the lot for 84 months. 0%, 84 months. And on some select models, you don't even have to make your first payment for the first 4 months. 120 days to make your first payment. Please go see my friends. You'll thank me later at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. We take the break. Pat Smith from Jocks Radio down in Birmingham. He's next.
Want to get your voice heard? Hit us up on the First Bank phone line or First Bank text line.
Hi, it's the Herd. We're all faced with new challenges these days. If you need legal help for yours, trust LegalZoom. You want to set up a will, maybe a living trust? How about starting a business as a DBA or an LLC? LegalZoom can help there too. You can start online. Their network of attorneys can provide advice when you need it. And since LegalZoom is not a law firm, you don't get charged by the hour. Visit LegalZoom.com for more information. Their site has it all. Trust LegalZoom.
I want to invite you to come by the Spirit Shop. You know, that little log cabin on Poplar, your liquor and wine oasis. The Spirit Shop has been providing sports fans their beverage needs since way back in 1969. So come in now and get ready for the big game. Whether your favorite team wins or loses, the Spirit Shop will help you celebrate or ease that pain away. The Spirit Shop is open every day, and they're located perfectly at 4848 Poplar. That's the corner of Poplar and St. Nick.
As you get back to business, small things can make a big difference. Like marking safe distances with floor tape and posting reminders to wash hands. As always, Grainger is here to help, offering supplies and solutions for every industry. Free access to product specialists, 24/7 support, safety recovery guides, and more. It's part of our commitment to help you adapt and recover in these challenging times. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Ocean and Brett Norsworthy.
I had my world strapped against my back. I held my hands, never knew how to act.
Welcome back in. On the day we learned Brady White named to the Davey O'Brien watch list. 30 great quarterbacks, let's face it. When you're up against Trevor Lawrence and
I think he's in that league.
He's real good. We know this. He's in the top 30, right? I mean, there's that's.
We know he's in the top 30.
Yeah.
At worst, he's going to say I graduated 30th. But we went over a lot of quarterback lists while you were away, Dave, and we did AAC, and I thought it was pretty easy to have him over Shane Buechele. And then we did SEC, and I would have him I would have him first in the SEC. I think I had Kyle Trask one. I think he's better than Kyle Trask. Statistically, I know he is.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get that list up really quickly here that we're in the
Davey O'Brien.
The 30 finalists.
I went to bar in New Orleans, Pat O'Brien's. Did you hear the news of K-Paul's?
No.
In New Orleans? It's closing.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
That is awful. We'll get
Had
that
some
list
good
out.
times at K-Paul's.
We'll get that list out a little bit
Davey
later.
O'Brien, the old Heisman Trophy winner. And that award banquet is great, too, for the winner. It'd be something if Brady White, if we have a season, and he's there at award time.
Yeah. In the meantime, let's go down to Birmingham, Alabama, where they had a big meeting yesterday. All the ADs were there with the commissioner of the SEC, Greg Sankey. I'm sure Jocks Radio was all over that, which means Pat Smith was all over that. What is your takeaway from yesterday, Pat? And thank you for joining us. Good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon, guys. Always a pleasure to be with y'all. We have been nonstop, the last, obviously, couple of days discussing the potential of an SEC schedule, what's happening, the potential. And let me tell you guys, I think the one thing that we all can understand, obviously listening to Greg Sankey after the meetings, is that, we're in a situation now where it's kind of a wait and see towards the end of the month and see exactly where we are in regards to the health of the conference, all the states in the conference. and to kind of go from there. But, the things that I heard from the meetings yesterday is, there's multiple proposals that they discussed in regards to the schedules. Are we going to try to do the 12-game schedule? We're going to do a conference-only schedule? Are we going to kind of, have an addendum to the schedule? Are we going to have certain bye weeks built in for things? So there was a multitude of things that they discussed yesterday, and then we can get into a little bit more detail in just a couple minutes on what some of those things are. But go ahead.
Well, Pat, what is he wanting to wait and see for? Because you can wait 3 weeks, 6 weeks, unless we have an effective vaccine that a large percentage of the population is going to take. I can tell him what 3 weeks and 4 weeks and 6 bits a dollar, all against the virus, stand up and holler. I can tell him what it's going to look like. What is he waiting on? What bottom line numbers he have to see? Because you can throw out fatality rates, and that means nothing. Only thing that matters now is testing, and positivity rates. Now we're even getting anecdotal, somewhat apocryphal about long-ranging impacts. We hadn't had enough time to know what long-ranging is going to be. Long-ranging's been 4 months since Rudy Gobert night. We don't know what long-range impact it's going to have. So what's he going to wait and see on? I think he's just kicking the can, Pat, and not leading.
Well, I think what they're waiting on, to be completely honest, is to see exactly where all these other non-conference opponents, where those states and localities, what their situation is. Because I've been told the biggest issue is who's going to pay for these testing? Like, who's going to pay for the testing for a non-conference opponent that is going to come in to play Ole Miss? Is Ole Miss responsible for that? I mean, is the SEC going to step up and pay for Sisters of the Poor that's coming to play whoever this week in as a non-conference game? I mean, what exactly are the financial end parts of this? So I think they're waiting long enough to see, okay, are we going to have a non-conference schedule to even discuss? Because if they go to only an 8-game conference schedule, unlike the Big Ten, who's already said they're going to have a 10-game conference schedule, then they're going to build in enough bye weeks in which they can actually, let's say, take a team that's got a bye week, and if somebody can't come to Ole Miss and play that week because they're quarantined, let's say Arkansas can't come to Oxford, but Mississippi State happens to be off, guess what? Mississippi State could be getting on a bus coming to Oxford. You could have 2 Egg Bowls in 1 year. That is actually something that has been discussed, because they're concerned about getting into the season, and you have a situation where these opponents are either quarantined or somebody's just not going to come to a state because it's a so-called hotbed, and then you got to find an opponent. So I think it's not so much that they're waiting around thinking that there's going to be a miracle cure in the next couple of weeks. I think they're waiting to see exactly what they need to do in regards to the calendar before they officially say, we're just not doing these non-conference games. But I was told that there are multiple ADs that were in that room yesterday that they are still pushing the idea of going full bore, having 12 games regardless.
Is that the majority? You say there are multiple. No. Could you give me we know there's 14. How many you think are gung ho? How many are anti? How many are in the middle?
I would say definitely less than half are still gung ho on the 12. I mean, listen, up to about a week ago, there was one school in this conference that had not committed 100% on playing football. And then there was another school that was teetering, falling right in behind that other school. So at that point in time, you only had 12 schools that had 100% committed to play football or to try to play football this fall. And I think you guys can probably figure out what that one school was. And I think that they've kind of come back in line a little bit based on what I heard from yesterday. So
they always do.
Yeah. So, but again, I think the options that you're looking at, guys, obviously no conference games. You play the 8 games that was on your schedule. The one that's really interesting to me is that they would play a 10-game conference schedule. You would take the 8 conference games that you already have on your schedule. To get to the 10, they would look forward in your schedule in 2021 and 2022 to see who your cross-division opponent would be. For example, Alabama. Alabama would then add, for this season, they would go to Florida, and then they would host Vanderbilt because Florida is their 2021 opponent. 2022, they're hosting Vandy. So basically, if you just go ahead and look at your future schedules, if they were to adopt that type of schedule, you could figure out pretty quick. I think Ole Miss would add, I think, Tennessee and Kentucky. Yeah, and Kentucky. So, that, again, that's just one of a multitude of things that this conference has put on the table for everybody to discuss.
And Pat, again, we talked about it a little bit earlier. I'll take it, but I'm so tired of having to take the proverbial half loaf. But I understand that this is epic proportions times that we live in. But I'll speak for Ole Miss and Mississippi State. If they played the Egg Bowl the last game of the year, and it's just 9 SEC games before that game, you're going to be down on the depth chart, way down low. There'll be so many injuries going into that game.
Well, there's no question, not to mention the fact that how many of these games are going to be interrupted to begin with because the potential of quarantine or, players being out or opting out, so to speak. So, I think when it's all said and done, and again, this is just my prediction, this is my opinion, this is not based on what somebody has told me, but just reading all the information in the tea leaves, it seems to me that they're going to probably end up saying, look, let's go for this 10 conference game schedule. Let's build in enough bye weeks into the schedule. We need to have that conference championship game if we can for television and revenue purposes. But if we can't get there, let's try to get in as many possible games as we can. And so that's why I think you're going to see the season push back. I think I just read a few moments ago, I think the state of Mississippi, the Mississippi High School Athletic Association, I think they're pushing back the start of their football season 2 weeks.
Yes.
I think that the state of Alabama high schools will probably end up doing the same thing. And I think ultimately the SEC, I think if they could start this season by October 1st, guys, I think they would be completely 100% happy with that. And that might be something that they end up doing.
Or even if you started,
I just don't see anything changing.
Even if you started 2 weeks later and built in enough bye games, as you're talking about, maybe that limits injuries to a certain extent, but it also buys you and I can't remember who said this the other day, but I love the way they said it. Let's just say you've got 3 offensive linemen and your quarterback that go down for a particular game, and you got 8 guys on defense, and you don't know if you can play the game. You try to cancel the game that week and move it to another time in the season where you both have one of those bye weeks that might work for you. There could be a lot of fluidity in that regard. Yeah. Was there any discussion, Pat, in that meeting about fans? Would we see no fans? Would we see 25%? Would we see 50%? Anything of that nature discussed in Birmingham yesterday?
Well, yes. I mean, again, it all goes back to what I'm not picking on Mr. Norsworthy there, but just, the conversations about trying to wait and see. But at this juncture, I don't think any of them have, the positive belief that they're going to have more than a few thousand people max at a game. You remember about a month ago, you had Gene Smith, the athletic director of Ohio State, where he basically said, yeah, we could, we've got 42,000 season ticket holders. We can have 45 to 50,000, at the Horseshoe on any given Saturday for a home game. I don't think any athletic director in this conference believes that they might even have a third of that in the stadium. I think we have gotten to the point, guys, where it is like we have got to figure out a way safely to get these kids on the field so that we can have a football season, because as we all see each and every day, not only is the regular economy in this country being affected by what's happened since March, but these athletic departments are continuing to find themselves in dire need, and these budgets are going to be shot to where. I mean, when Florida State last week lays off 25 in their athletic department, you've got Iowa State announcing yesterday that, we're going to lose $40 million. The mayor of Tuscaloosa came out last week and said, if we don't have football season in Tuscaloosa, we're already projecting that our budget for the city of Tuscaloosa for next year is going to be cut by 40%. So these small towns across the Southeastern Conference that rely on these football Saturdays, the football weekends, they're going to be decimated. And granted, you're not going to have fans, but you are going to be able to get that television revenue. And I've been told that 10 is a magic number, that's what the conference really needs to get to in regards to meeting those obligations from their television and media partners so they can at least get something out of this season. Again, as long as it's safe, they're going to do everything possible they can to have a football season.
Pat, can you report, or have you heard, do you know of any that's kind of the lead in this, the super aggressive AD that's really saying, by golly, we better play football? Or is it what I fear, nobody wants to be viewed as that, because if you're trying to go on with life, even managing with the virus, managing with the social distancing, wearing the mask, being careful, washing hands, if you appear at all like you're trying to plow on, you're a heartless SOB.
To my knowledge, there has not been that guy that has stood up and basically said, by golly, we're going to do this come hell or high water. And, we're doing, like you said, you would immediately be castigated as
crushed.
Absolutely. And so I'm not saying
right up there with being Ted Bundy and being a mass murderer.
No, there's no question about that. So I think all of these athletic directors, their approach, because, again, they've got to answer to a president or to a chancellor. And I think all of us understand, yes, there are budgetary obligations that these chancellors and these schools and athletic departments have to look at, but they also have to look at, first and foremost, the health of the student athlete. I mean, because, listen, there's still some schools around the conference that are not 100% in regards to getting kids back on campus. And, I know one SEC school has blatantly said, if we don't have students on campus, we're not having football players on campus, period. So, there is this philosophical tug of war going on as we speak in regards how they move forward to try to make all this happen. But no, there has not been that one guy to stand up and to lead that charge as of yet.
You've been covering this league for a long time. It just got me to start to think, and we have all marveled. The SEC has had two of the great commissioners back to back that you could possibly have.
Roy Kramer and absolutely Mike Slive.
And Mike Slive. And I'm wondering if both of those guys, Brett, had either a president or an AD or a cadre of those, maybe 3 or 4, that they knew that he knew that they were the ones that would ramrod what he wanted done and would go to them and make sure it got done.
Jeremy Foley for one, Frank Broyles for another, Doug Dickey for another.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, does Sankey have that kind of group? And
great question, Dave. Great question.
And something where you could ramrod what the heck you want through.
Well, listen, I mean, that is the $1 million question, because I knew, Commissioner Kramer and Mike Slive personally, covering this league as long as I have, and being able to, especially with Commissioner Slive, was very close, to me and Paul Feinbaum over the years here in Birmingham. And I know for a fact that obviously when they were trying to get the SEC network started, when they were trying to court Texas A&M and Mizzou to the conference, that Commissioner Slive had 4 or 5 presidents in the conference that he pretty much was able to call and discuss things, and obviously those people had his back. I do not know Commissioner Sankey like I did Commissioner Slive or Roy Kramer, so it might not be fair for me to comment, but I have not heard in the circles in Birmingham or just covering this conference that there are 3 or 4 guys that he could call upon to do something. Now, that doesn't mean that he doesn't. I'm just saying that I've never heard that he's had that type of relationship like his 2 predecessors have had.
Have you, and Dave as well, have y'all felt at all during this, I won't use bait and switch, but the more the delay, get more people enrolled. If you can sell, I don't think selling tickets is that big a goal anymore, because I think most people know that it'll be fanless or very limited. But I hope around the country, whether SEC, Big Ten, AAC, whatever league, whatever stripe, whatever football it is, I hope we're not delaying the inevitable in the name of boosting enrollment rolls and then going up. Sorry, everything online, Zoom again.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can speak. I just had a son graduate college here in the state of Alabama. And, of course, his last 3 months of his college career was spent on Zoom. And now I've got a senior in high school who's going to have to decide by Thursday if he wants to risk it going back to school every day of the week, or he can just basically take his senior year online. So I think so many people, I can speak for the state of Alabama, both Alabama and Auburn are full steam ahead trying to get kids back on campus. I've talked to football players at both Alabama and Auburn. They've been doing the voluntary workouts. I mean, they're fired up. I mean, they're concerned right now about whether people are going to come back to campus, and they're concerned if there's going to be a season at all. I mean, within the last week, guys, I can tell you that these players, for the first time during this whole pandemic, and I'm not saying that they haven't taken it seriously, because there's been some bad raps on some schools about kids going to bars or going to the beach or doing whatever, not taking their roles seriously and trying to flatten the curve. They are strictly just absolutely scared to death that this season is about to be canceled. And if you're a junior or senior playing on these football teams and your hope is potentially to go to the combine or go to the draft, I mean, it's a scary time for them. But again, it's something that we're going to have to wait and see. Hopefully the next couple of weeks, the positive news. I think it was great today that Ohio State is getting back to their workouts. I mean, you saw Kentucky had no kids test positive. They released that, a day or two ago. So, there is some positive momentum. I don't know if Memphis has been affected as bad as we have down here in Alabama, but Alabama has become like Florida, almost a drastically, terrible hot spot over the last couple of weeks. So hopefully Commissioner Sankey won't go out his door and look at the bad news that's happening in downtown Birmingham and take a look at the whole conference before he makes a decision.
700
quickly, Pat,
in Shelby County today. So,
oh wow,
who wins tonight? Tommy Tuberville or Jeff Sessions?
You know what, guys? And remember, y'all laughed at me. Remember that? Y'all laughed at me like
I did. I sure did, Pat.
I mean, you laughed at me. Now, the last time I was on, you guys asked me the Tuberville question, and I told y'all that he at the time he was polling ahead of Sessions. Well, the last couple of weeks, Sessions has really come on. I mean, this is going to be close tonight. It's going to be real close. I don't know if you guys heard, but last night President Trump did a robocall, and he made the mistake of talking about Lou Saban instead of Nick Saban. And so
my mother confuses them every time.
So let's just say that that just reminded everybody in the state of Alabama that Tommy Tuberville coached Auburn and won 6 in a row against Alabama at one time. So it's going to be very close. I was told by a couple of political guys that I know that they think Sessions is going to eke it out.
Wow.
That was their prediction to me. So we'll wait and see what happens tonight.
We will
see if Wingnut can make a comeback.
Thank you, Pat.
No riverboat gambler.
Hey, mark it down. We're going to talk to you in 2 weeks after the commissioner now has enough time to evaluate.
Absolutely. Hey, guys, have a good one. I understand it's going to be hot as you know what up there in Memphis this weekend. Y'all stay safe.
You too.
Thank you, man.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, Pat.
Pat Smith down at Jocks in Birmingham. Brought to you by the good folks at Brian Elder Roofing Solutions. Roofing is an essential emergency service. Sadly, sometimes we don't realize that until the damage starts affecting, the inside of your house. You look up in your living room and go, wait a second, is that a stain? Whoa, now it's a bigger stain. Uh-oh. Don't wait till the problem gets bad. Call now, especially if you haven't thought about your roof in years or if you've got any concerns. Brian Elder Roofing Solutions is the way to go. You know the number. It's famous by now, 901-867-0303. That's 867-0303, Brian Elder Roofing Solutions. They only use the best products on the market. They provide their customers with one of the best warranties for roofing contractors, period. At Brian Elder, they stand by their no questions asked warranty, which sets them apart from all of the others. And you know, they use the latest in technology and equipment. They're so good they can measure your roof from outer space. Call my guys. That's Brian Elder Roofing Solutions, 867-0303. Back in a minute with a wrap on this second hour of Sports Time on Sports 56.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Peter Edmiston and C.J. Hertz. Right here on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses will buy a house in any area, in any condition, and yes, it's guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your home quickly, call 901-406-1101. If you've been through a divorce, if you lost your job, if you're tired of renters, I Buy Houses can get you your money quickly. I Buy Houses will buy your home in Shelby County, DeSoto County, Memphis, Bartlett, South Haven, Horn Lake, Olive Branch, anywhere and everywhere in between in any condition. And yes, they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that pen, 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses.
Save now on your 2021 swimming pool at Family Leisure. Buy now at 2020 pricing and save your spot for the first installation of 2021. Patio furniture 20 to 30% off. Play gyms in stock. Beat the heat with an indoor game table or slate pool table. Pool toys and floats up to 30% off. Family Leisure, Whit Road at I-40, where family and fun come together.
Family and fun come together.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Here's some good news. This breaking from the AP through Twitter. The first vaccine tested in the U.S. for the coronavirus boosted volunteers' immune systems as hoped. Final study starts this month. I told you we were up to 150.
I'll sign up for
152. Wow. So the first vaccine tested has a positive result so far. Everything they had hoped for, they are getting from. So that is good news. You had brought up, and so did a texter, about some of the long-term effects, the ramifications that I had mentioned earlier. And one of those things is called acute respiratory distress syndrome, which builds up fluid in the tiny air sacs of the lung called the alveoli. Anyway, what they're worried about is that this is a permanent limited lung capacity compared to others. Also, there are kidney,
especially if you had a predisposition to it and or smoked.
Also, kidney complications, which could lead to the need for long-term dialysis. Also, their psychiatric issues that could,
Some
from this,
heart ailments,
come
even.
PTSD. So those are the things I'm talking about when I say.
Yes, and we'll learn more about them. And you're right that even with that recovery rate, those people are still very much impacted by that.
Right.
But we are in the early stages of learning more about that. There could have been some lifestyle choices that led to you getting it that will make that even worse, but we'll find out more. On last Friday, real quick, and I promise I'll be quick, we were talking with Andy Schiffman about Michael Beasley, and he had signed on.
Right.
Now he has the virus, and he's out. And I said to Andy last Friday, Michael Beasley, the long, strange journey, something always happens. Always.
I remember.
He's had a good career, though.
Hey, I did a game with him in college, and I walked away going, this dude, there's nothing going to stop him. He's going to be so good. And there's been a million things from dependency to injuries that have just curtailed him. And here,
something
he's
always
coming back, and COVID gets him. Well, can't blame him for that. That's just unlucky. And that's 2 hours in the books. When we come back, NFL time with our good friend Bo Marchant from collegetopro.com. Don't go anywhere because he's next.
Hi, this is John Conway with Conway Services. Have you noticed your air conditioning system struggling to keep up this summer? It may just need a tune-up. Good news, it's super tune-up time at Conway Services. We'll come out and perform our exclusive 16-point Energy Saver Super Tune-up on your air conditioning system for only $69 with a free on-leak check. That's right, Conway Services exclusive 16-point Energy Saver Super Tune-up for only $69 with a free on-leak check. We'll remove years of dirt, grime, and leaves from your air conditioning system. It's like taking your air conditioner to a car wash, all for only $69. If you have an air conditioner that leaks Freon every year, with Conway Services Super Tune-up, we'll include a free leak check. If that's not enough, we'll treat your unit with a special Teflon coating to help protect against the hot Memphis sun. So call Conway Services, the Mid-South's premier heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric service company at 384-3511. And call this week, and we'll do your super tune-up for only $57.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
Hi, it's the Herd. Guys, I want to ask you about age. Are you okay feeling older? Having less energy? Adding unwanted body fat? Yeah, neither am I. That's why I exercise and take M-Drive, the only supplement specifically for driven men, just like you. I want to stay engaged and energized, strong and lean, but I'm not going to let age beat me. Neither should you. M-Drive, it can help you feel more energized and help you lean up. Invented by a world-class scientist with over 40 years of experience. I've met him, his family, real people. Check it out, mdriveformen.com. They believe so much in their supplements, they offer a no-hassle 60-day money-back guarantee. mdriveformen.com. It's also at Walgreens, Vitamin Shop, and Rite Aid. And if you're not ready to give up, if you want to feel more energized and lean, try M-Drive, the only supplement for driven men. Don't let your age beat you. Visit mdriveformen.com today. mdriveformen.com.
Glad to announce the Rendezvous open for business 11A to 8P Tuesday through Saturday. World famous Rendezvous up and running. If you need some barbecue nachos, brisket, ribs, maybe a cheese and sausage plate, the Rendezvous back and open for dine-in, carry-out, and curbside. While not much changes in the alley basement, you will see a few small differences and additions. For now, open 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday. And they have desserts. Think key lime pie tarts, chocolate chess pie tarts. Spend some time downtown and visit our friends at the Rendezvous in the alley in downtown Memphis since 1948. All of the Vergas family thanks Memphis and the Mid-South so very much for your support during these times, and they're there for you, as always, in the alley in downtown Memphis. Mr. Charlie Vergos and family's famous restaurant, The Rendezvous.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Bo Marchant talking the National Football League with us, and we will rank our AFC North quarterbacks. We'll also talk about the real impact of no preseason games and also the very real prospect of not a on-time start when camps are supposed to start opening 2 weeks from today. A lot of comments from the Players Association on all those things. This hour brought to you every day by DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales and check out their website with all the happy referrals and look at those beautiful cars online at DeSotoAutosales.com. All the cars test driven, checked out, bumper to bumper, head to toe, every make, every model. If it's not on the lot, they'll go out and find it for you, and you'll be treated like family at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, laid back atmosphere, no high pressure sales, because they want you to enjoy the ultimate car experience, because they know we're living in a world today that time really, really matters. You walk in, find the car you want, test drive, credit approved, paperwork completed, all in less than an hour, in about 45 minutes. Plenty of time to do it over your lunch hour or like right now, immediately after work at DeSoto Auto Sales on Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Online at DeSotoAutosales.com. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience with the good people at DeSoto Auto Sales.
I just told you about that good news about the vaccine that AP broke through their Twitter feed. That's the good news. I got some bad news I just got. The Memphis Amateur Sports Hall of Fame, which includes the induction banquet and the Lloyd Sowell Golf Tournament, canceled due to what they're calling COVID-19 precautions. And that banquet is really a beautiful banquet. I MC it every year. It's in December, first Monday night of December, and that is really too bad. But it's another thing that we love about sports and that we honor people in this community for and have for years and years and years falls by the wayside due to COVID. And, the Memphis Hall of Fame now that we've been talking about with our friend Pierre Landash, that the Memphis Sports Council, Kevin Kane, and all those guys have been putting together, that is on hold for a while too, as this pandemic has absolutely put a hold on everything. But you know what it did not put a hold on? Actually, because of that and all of the protests, it accelerated the move to get rid of the Washington Redskins. Bo Marchant, who covers the NFL like no one else, joins us from collegetopro.com. So I know with your insight, your expertise, somewhat close to that part of the country, you know what they're going to name this team. So just tell us, Bo.
I wish I had some insight on what they're going to name the new Washington team, but I don't. And the ironic thing is, I grew up, that's the team I rooted for as a young kid. The Hogs,
the Steelers?
Yeah. You know what? When I was very, very tiny, you can go through the family photo albums, and I was on a Steelers bike for Christmas, and I had my Steelers coat. But I think when I was able to kind of identify, it was definitely, I just love John Riggins. And I love the Hogs. I love Darryl Green. And, during the 80s, you talk about a team that, was at 4 or 5 Super Bowls. They won 3 of them. So, you called me a front runner, but nonetheless, I just loved all those guys. So, I grew up with the team, and the name change, I don't have a problem with it. If it caused harm to some and not others, and I think it's like anything with a nationality or an ethnicity, if there's a split where, 50's on this side and 50's on the other, there's still some concern. So, for me, I'm just an observer, and maybe at the collegiate level where you have universities, but at the end of the day, Alabama's Alabama. You could call them the Crimson Tide, but they're still Alabama. The New York Yankees, if you want to take the word Yankees away, the pinstripes are what it's about. So, if the name changes, it's not going to change what I saw when Doug Williams and Mark Ripken and Jay Schroeder won Super Bowls for the team. Doesn't take away my fondness and, affection for Gary Clark. So at the end of the day, I think it's I guess the only problem I have with it was Daniel Snyder wouldn't have done this if it wasn't for the pocketbooks. He found out that FedEx and all these companies were starting to, follow their lead and then say, hey, you know what, there's going to be no more revenue. There's not going to be no more income. And that's when he, said, okay, I got to change my stance. In 2013, he made the famous statement, it will never change. We're never going to do it. But, we come to see 7 years later, a different scenario, different time we're in.
Different world.
And, Yeah, different world. And,
yeah,
changes quickly. But at the end of the day, I mean, we go through these changes, and I guess there's always points in each generation where, things happen. It might think, wow, I can't imagine this happening until it happens. But, I think the world we're living in, I mean, and I was at Home Depot today wearing a mask, buying, 4-inch PCP pipe. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just one of those weird things where everybody's wearing masks. So it's just the world we're in now.
Bo, there's even some, you mentioned the famed Hogs, and they got that nickname. Joe Gibbs and Joe Bugle gave them that nickname. Joe Gibbs had been offensive line coach at Arkansas in the early 70s, so he knew about Razorbacks and the Hogs, and Don Breaux, his offensive coordinator, had been at Arkansas as well. So there was real Arkansas influence when they dubbed Mark May and Jacoby and Bostic and crew the Hogs. There are some wanting them maybe to try something like that. I think Arkansas would have something to say about that. I bet they've got that patented.
If they called them the Hogs, here's what they could do. They could call them the pig skins. Keep the skins. Hogs,
that'd
pigs.
be a great one. That's a good one, Dave. That's a really good one. I don't know where the name is.
I think too many fans would still use just half that nickname, and I think that's the derisive well, it's always derisive, and I think they're wanting to get away from that. Maybe you could just call them the D.C. stalemate, because everything in D.C. is a big stalemate.
Well, I've heard veterans, I've heard warriors.
You know what? And not to get, I guess it's on subject, but I was watching a documentary over the weekend, and ironic as it is that, we knew, news broke that, we knew the name was going to be changed. Basically, that was a concrete, it was going to happen. But I'm watching a documentary about it's called There Are No Fakes. It's about paintings, and this painter, and he was native, but he was an Indian, a native Indian, and they had his cousin or whatnot, and he was accused of something, and in the documentary, he's like basically saying, listen, I would never do anything against the tribe. I would never do anything to dishonor anything about our heritage. And while he's talking, he actually has a Washington hat on. So, but then again, I'm not in that place. That's not me to decide. And I think as a fan, and I'm not a Native American, but I am a fan of Washington. They were my team growing up. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, again, I don't want to ever offend anyone or cause anyone to have a bad day. So, if it makes it better, and it really is a serious enough issue, again, where, you may have a 50-50 split, but at the end of the day, I think even if it's a 50-50 split, there's obviously too much, turmoil, and so, move on. It's the memories that you keep, and, you move on. I'm not going to be begrudged and, bitter about, the name change. I mean, for whatever you got, like the Chicago Bears, they're the Bears, but, they're still Chicago, and, they wouldn't take any memory away from Gail Sayers. They wouldn't take your memories away from Brian Piccolo or Walter Payton. You just know that there's a C on that helmet, and they're the Chicago team. At the end of the day, are they the Bears? Yeah, but they're still from Chicago, so.
And that's what you mentioned, your love of Joe Gibbs' team, and I think probably the most remarkable thing he did, win 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks: Theismann, Williams, Ripien. Schrader came in as the backup to Doug Williams, but to win it with 3 different quarterbacks, very different styles with all 3. There was a whole lot of running the ball with the Diesel, but to win it with Theismann, Williams, and Ripien, that's remarkable to do it under 3 quarterbacks.
He's just a remarkable guy. Just think what he did after football.
Yeah, and then he's a legend in NASCAR, winning titles with Joe Gibbs Racing. But, yeah, I'm glad you guys brought that up. That was something I always thought of. I mean, when you think of dynasties in football, the Steelers with Bradshaw, the 49ers with Montana. Young got one, but basically it was, the Montana years. Aikman with the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of dynasties in football, but when you think of Washington, they were able to do it and give it with different quarterbacks, Theismann. And then, the running backs, you had Diesel, George Rogers, Timmy Smith. I was a Washington fan. I didn't even know who Timmy Smith was, and he comes into the Super Bowl and he rushes for
only Bobby Beathard knew who he was, and I looked it up. I think the rest of his career, Timmy Smith rushed for about 400 yards after going for 2 bills in that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He had that one big day, and that was it. And Bobby Beathard was a genius in there. How about this one, Bo? So when Joe Gibbs was offensive line coach at Arkansas for Frank Broyles in the early 70s, wide receivers coach Raymond Berry.
Oh.
Wow. I did not know that.
Raymond Berry. What a great player he was. When was
this
helped
in
Johnny
terms of
U.
him becoming an NFL coach?
It was it was well before it. Raymond Berry had just retired and wanted to get into coaching, and was in Arkansas in early 70s, and then he was coach of the Patriots in the Super Bowl of '86, but had won it for the balance of the season in '85. So it was well before it. I mean, it was his first dues paying job post playing.
Wow. That's impressive. I did
And
not know that.
his dad was a
Did not know that.
legendary high school football coach in Texas, and in Paris, Texas, head coach Gene Stallings in high school.
Yeah, that's a name. That's a legend's name right there, Gene Stallings.
All right. I know you guys want to rate quarterbacks from the AFC North today. And your top quarterback in the AFC East, just going over that again since I missed that.
Everybody had Cam.
Everybody had Cam, and then everybody but me had Wentz, had Dak, and I had Wentz.
Correct. For the NFC. So AFC North today, and for you, Bo, this is a tough one. This is a real passing of the baton torch year potentially for Big Ben. We know his best football is behind him. How much decent football is in front of him?
Maybe a year or two. Remember he played a quarter and a half last year, and he was ineffective. The Steelers did not score a touchdown in the first, against New England, or the second game against Seattle wasn't until Mason Rudolph came in that they actually got the ball in the end zone. So you're talking about 6 quarters of pretty unproductive football for Ben Roethlisberger. So then you add on the elbow injury, the age, lack of weapons. It's never going to be easy when you don't have a guy like AB. Juju Smith is going to be in a contract year. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to have the ammunition in terms of cap space to bring him aboard, again for 2021. So, it is a changing of the guard. I still think Ben, with the proper weapons, I think he's an effective quarterback. I would never, take that away from him. But, it's a changing of the guard in the AFC North. I think it'd be foolish not to think of the way Lamar Jackson has performed in his first couple of years in the National Football League, does not say that, he has to be the number one guy, at least, in that slot. And, I just think the team around him is better. They had the best record in the AFC last year. I mean, they were the team to beat, but, lo and behold, things changed in the playoffs for them when they met the Tennessee Titans. But
how about Big Ben in there with 3 Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks now in the AFC North? Joe Burrow's coming in with 1. Baker Mayfield's got 1. Lamar Jackson's got 1. Big Ben is definitely not the future, but he has had a glorious pass on the field.
Great career, no question. While we're talking
Pittsburgh,
while we're talking Pittsburgh, Paxton Lynch is still on the depth chart as 4. Behind Mason Rudolph, Delvin Hodges, and then Paxton. Does he have any shot of making that team?
I think he does. I really don't know if Hodges has a shot of making that team. I think I would actually change gears, and for whatever reason, Lynch wasn't their guy last year. But it's overall it was hard to even evaluate what Pittsburgh was doing on the field last year, just because their offensive skill guys were all off the field.
Right.
Juju was absent, Connor was absent. They were down to just third string guys across the board. So I think it was even hard if Mason Rudolph wouldn't have gotten hurt and missed time himself. It's hard to judge him because he wasn't thrown to the typical group of receivers that Ben Roethlisberger is accustomed to seeing. So I just think the evaluation, the scouts on the team when they're breaking down the tape and the practices, they're really to kind of delve into what these guys are doing and what they like. But I think on the outside, or at least covering the team, I just think it was a lack of opportunity for a true evaluation, just, watching the game and saying, hey, how did this guy do? Because, they had moments, Rudolph had moments where he looked, all right, he's not bad, but then he really took a big step backwards. And Hodges did the same thing. And, they had a gimmicky offense in a few of those games where they're running options and trick plays and wildcats the entire time. And, that's not what you want to do in the National Football League. When you have an incapable quarterback of doing that, I mean, that's not going to last long. But I think Lynch, a long way around, I think Lynch does have an opportunity to beat Delvin Hodges out for that final spot on the Steelers quarterback roster.
I hope that happens. I really do.
Hey, and real quick, guys, right before we went on, I was checking my emails, and I actually got a training camp information email from the Steelers. So cross your fingers that, things are, anything
2 weeks
can
from
change.
today.
But yeah, so, they wanted information, that was the first time I ever got one of those. So, that's a good sign that, at least they're getting ready, and I assume in the credential phase of, getting credentials ready for training camp. So cross your fingers.
Did they want medical information?
They asked for my birth date. That was about the only thing different. They, my job title, company, I think birth date, and I think that was about the thing. So maybe age. Maybe they're looking at age. We know that plays a part in the COVID. So at least I'm 48. I'm close. I'm on the bubble, but at least I'm not
good.
farther up.
48. You're good. Will they require you to take a test within the week before you go?
There was nothing there on that. The one thing I did see through the NFL media is either they'll have a certain group of the main beat writers for the team. There'll be positioned somewhere, and then other outlets like myself, will be positioned somewhere else, and then obviously more social distancing, mask required. But that is the first. So but the age thing, definitely an age thing. I mean, you guys have been in this business a lot longer than me. There's probably never one time you went to get your credentials or anything, and they want to know how old you were. So.
No, that is a first.
Yeah.
All right.
You go first in the North, Bo. You go first.
All right. I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson 1, and then I'm going to go Ben 2. I'm going to go Mayfield 3, and I would have put Mayfield 2nd if he would have had 2 back-to-back positive seasons, but he took a giant step back in that second year. So we really don't know, what way he's going to go. I hope he turns the right corner because I love the kid coming out of Oklahoma. And then Joe Burrow, fabulous career at LSU, but, you can't put a rookie ahead of any of those other guys. So that's the way I'm going to go through it.
Wow.
All right, we know Drew has Lamar number 1. Dave, who do you have number 1?
I you know what? Apparently, Bo and I were exactly the same way in the AFC East with Cam, Allen, Darnold, and Fitzpatrick. We're the same here. I mean, how can you not go with Lamar? There's no doubt about that. Ben is, he's on the downside. I'm assuming Baker Mayfield will pass him, and I agree with you. Baker Mayfield had a bad second year. He was not what we thought. So Ben gets 2, Baker gets 3, and Burrow is 4.
Drew?
The exact same way. I mean, really nothing else to say, but big trust.
I didn't go, by the way, with RG3 as 4. Over the untested Burrow.
No, that will be next week when we have Mitch Mitchell 6th.
You know what?
Bo, he's 6th.
He's upset that I put Andy Dalton in 4 over Dwayne Haskins.
He just says how bad Dwayne Haskins is. I'm not upset, but Haskins is that bad. No, I deviated from you guys. I have Big Ben 3. I have Baker Mayfield 2. He's gotten a lot of coaches fired in his 2 years. He hadn't had a back-to-back coach since Bob Stoops when he was at OU. He had the 1 year with Lincoln Riley, the 1 year with Hugh Jackson, the 1 year with Freddie Kitchens, and he got hired. That wasn't his fault that the organization listened to a rookie quarterback on who to hire as the coach. But on the field, I think he will be better this year than Big Ben. I don't know if Big Ben's got 10 starts left in him, Bo.
I hope he does.
Yeah. That was my biggest concern last year was him holding up, and lo and behold, he misses, the whole year. 15 and a half games, so 14 and a half games.
If indeed he is bad again, do you have faith Mason Rudolph can do the job?
Ooh, no,
I'm not sure.
I don't.
Yeah, he.
We know he can take it.
He showed he showed more signs of, I thought, negativity. But then I don't want to be too harsh again because he was throwing the guys like us. You know, I mean, you're throwing the Ryan Switzer.
Oh,
you
no,
got a
Bo,
rookie
they're not that
Deontay
bad.
Johnson. Yeah. So, like I said, if he had a better arsenal to work with, I mean, Vance McDonald was out. I mean, they were just, I mean, that offense was bare bones. I mean, you talk about a depleted offense, and it's not an excuse, but nonetheless, I mean, each weekend when I would go cover the team, usually kind of have a mindset. I would have never thought they would have won any games just because they were so in depth offensively. The defense was lights out. I don't know how they even won 8 games. I mean, the 8 mark was, just
Mike
remarkable.
Tomlin. That's how.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so the only difference here is in all 4 of our picks is Baker Mayfield and Ben swapped around by you, Brett, and that's it.
Yeah, and I think that will pretty much be a parallel to our standings in the divisions when we go divisions. I don't think you have a guy second at quarterback and fourth in his team, fourth in division. Doesn't that team usually kind of parallel that in the division? Don't they parallel the quarterback?
Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, and then I think it goes back to, if Ben is healthy, that offense, Juju's healthy, and you got the other guys playing. I think they're going to be as competitive as anybody. And then again, it's a matter of does Mayfield and that Browns, do they avoid the mishaps of last season, and are they able to, continue what they were supposed to do 2 years ago when they were 6-10, and there was excitement and there was a buzz around the Cleveland Browns. But last year they weren't able to take that next step. So again, you think about them though. It's a whole new offense. You mentioned it, Brett. A new offensive system, a new coach. I mean, 3 years, 3 head coaches. So it's another year for Baker Mayfield to transition.
A lot of new,
but just so much talent there. That's what it is. The Browns. I mean, absent of, I'll give you this. Absent, I think of the Ravens. I mean, I think from a draft talent pool, I would definitely be enamored having the talent, that the Browns have. And they locked Myles Garrett up. And you think about Myles Garrett, if you're not taking a quarterback with the number 1 pick, Myles Garrett has been a slam dunk number 1 pick. I mean, if you're going to take a defensive end, I mean, they really, he's lived up to expectations. We know the helmet thing last year was Rudolph, and that was a mistake. It was ugly. But when you talk about on the field production and what he's been able to do, I mean, he's fantastic. And have that kind of bookend long term, the Browns did themselves a favor by getting that long term done today.
So I don't think anybody would argue, and of course this is for discussion later as we get closer, but Baltimore is the overriding favorite to win that division.
I would think so.
And then what would
I think they'll win 12 games plus.
Yeah. And then it's between Cleveland and Pittsburgh for second, right? I mean,
and maybe to squeeze out a wild card, and that'd be a wild battle. And you just want to see Joe Burrow stay upright and gain some confidence, and not break Peyton Manning's rookie interception record.
Yeah.
And then the Ravens draft. I mean, that draft was just, they get the linebacker and then Dobbins in the second.
That draft room, the draft was that culture.
Yeah. I told you a couple years ago when Harbaugh was on the hot seat, I was just offended by that. I just thought, what an insult. I mean, this guy, at the time, they were in transition quarterback-wise, and, but this guy's still solid. That team, I mean, they're, I still don't think the Baltimore Ravens or they don't have the charisma or maybe the lineage of, the Raiders or the Cowboys or the Steelers or the Packers, But when you think about what they've been able to do in a short lifespan, and they've been phenomenal, and very rarely have they been down and out. I mean, they have been a pulse in this league, a competitive team, and the battles that they've had
since
with
the
Steelers throughout the years, even when the Steelers were, the predominant old man on the block. I mean, they came in and said, "Hey, we're going to fight you for the street corner, and we're going to take you to task." And it's been a beautiful rivalry, and hopefully the Steelers can rebound from a couple mid-so seasons, and kind of take the fight back to Baltimore.
All right, last thing for Beau Marchant on the NFL from collegetopro.com, and that is we know the Hall of Fame game that you were so excited about has been canceled. Do we have a pretty set sort of training camp in stone when this whole thing is going to begin now? Are we on schedule with that?
No, I don't think so. Getting the email today was it felt good to have, it was like a lifeline. Put it that way. They sent out a lifeline. Maybe they're making to make the rescue, but until you hear those choppers, overhead, you're kind of still sitting on the island waiting to get rescued. So even though that's come, and until training camps open, and because we keep seeing, you guys know as well. I mean, it increases all over the states, and so I would be shocked if it happens in 2 weeks, but hopefully it does happen.
He's Bo. Thank you, my friend. We'll do this again next week.
Yes. Stay safe, gentlemen.
That's Bo Marchant. Brought to you in part by Ken Garland. There's two guys that are on top of their games. You know Ken, he and his dad, well, they've been building and renovating homes in this market for about 45 years now. Ken, second generation, understands. Big decision. That's why he's going to work closely with all of his clients, ensuring they get exactly what they want and expect. That's quality construction on time, on budget. And that could be for a brand new home. It could be for a renovation. He'll make your older home a modern palace with all the new amenities. I know you want those, but you don't want to move. This is your solution. Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. Maybe you're looking for a new development. He's involved with Boyle in a new gated community called the Leylon. It's on Messick Road, east of Kirby, all the way to McVeigh. 4-bedroom home starting at $875,000. Please go take a look at the website. You'll love what you see, everything about Ken Garland. Then give him a call. He's a very interesting fella to sort of pick your brain, sort of get to know exactly what he is all about and what you are looking for. And this will be a marriage made in heaven. 751-1632. That's the number, 751-1632. That's how you get a hold of Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Back in a minute. This is Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallow and Stats.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ. Listen to us daily on AM 560, 96.1 FM, or 87.7 FM.
Good news. Southland Casino is now back open. That's right. The most spacious casino floor in the Mid-South is ready to welcome you back to the action with live blackjack, roulette, craps, and all your favorite slots. The action kicks off every day at 9 a.m. and rolls all the way till 5 o'clock the next morning. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and make the short drive to Southland. We're ready for you. Must be 21 plus. Play responsibly. For help quitting, call 800-522-4700.
Farmers Insurance knows that when you're in the car and that song comes on, yes, that's the one, you have no choice but to pull out your imaginary drumsticks and smash those cymbals and stomp on that kick pedal, which unfortunately is the accelerator pedal. And we covered it. Talk to a farmer's agent who knows a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two.
Call Chad Gatlin at 901-235-1176 or get a fast quote at memphisfarmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
At Jason's Deli, you can stuff yourself full of great deli food that's healthy, fresh, and best of all, it's not expensive. Jason's Deli is all about choice. Whether you're looking for a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids' meals, or if you'd like to invent your sandwich via the build-your-own selections, Jason's Deli has you covered. And they only use fresh, wholesome ingredients. Choose from the club and specialty sandwiches, paninis, wraps, soups, salads, pastas, and much more. I love the cleanliness in the restaurant, the hospitality, and of course the cost. They have a huge salad bar and great soups, including Southwest chicken chili, fire roasted tortilla, organic vegetable, tomato basil, and many, many more. And if you're planning an event, their catering department is fantastic and can handle any size party. Go check out Jason's Deli's 4 locations. On Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, that's my favorite, on Germantown Parkway in Cordova, at Poplar and Highland, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch.
I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses will buy a house in any area, in any condition, and yes, it's guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your home quickly, call 901-406-1101. If you've been through a divorce, if you lost your job, if you're tired of renters, I Buy Houses can get you your money quickly. I Buy Houses will buy your home in Shelby County, DeSoto County, Memphis, Bartlett, South Haven, Horn Lake, Olive Branch, anywhere and everywhere in between in any condition. And yes, they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that pen, 901-406-1101. I buy houses.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Welcome back in, halfway through our final hour on this gorgeous Tuesday. Take advantage of tonight. If you're gonna, let's say, go eat out or something, you might want to go to a restaurant, sit outside, because this is absolutely the perfect weather for that. It's going to get hotter and more humid as the week goes on.
Tomorrow, big news with Musa Cisse, Dave, and the roster, the lineup the Tigers can run out there next year. If we have it next year, it can be so defensive-oriented. We talked a little last week about it with Jason Munns. You could have on that back end, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of zone, but even in a man-to-man, you could have guys really cheat and really gamble on shot blocking, or the guys out front on trying to steal the ball and really put pressure on players because they know they've got the line of attack on the back end. What Cisse will give them defensively, and also if people really care about it, because a lot of the Tigers signing class this year was transfers. They are the Tigers at rivals, again, for what that's worth. They are in a 15 or 16-way tie at 85th. Musa Cisse signing tomorrow, reclassifying tomorrow, will really move that up, including Grand Canyon and Liberty, tied at 85th.
Here's
they'll move way up.
My sense of it is if they get Cisse tomorrow, and I think they're going to, and they get one of the two of the transfers to become eligible, and I think they're going to get one of the two. They could get both. Seems to me we've read stories now where even though they denied the one-time transfer rule until at least next year, and you can understand the reasoning behind that would be if let's say teams didn't play this year, some teams didn't play, some teams did. You'd be able to transfer. Schools could lose every player. So they had to be careful about that. I get that. But I think they're going to be a little bit more liberal, a little bit more giving in their thinking about granting these transfers on any kind of legitimate excuse. And I think both those kids have cases to be made. Whether they'll win them or not, we'll see. But let's just say they get one of two of those. And you've got guys coming back that you know are going to be better. Boogie Ellis has already got 15 pounds of muscle on him. I saw some new video of him. He was terrific. DJ is going to be back and playing a whole season, you figure, healthy, and I think the offense will probably go through him. Quinones will be every bit as good, if not better. I suspect Damian Ball will be better. Malcolm Dandridge will be healthy. You've still got now Alex Lomax will be a junior, so you got a little bit of experience there. Isaiah Stokes.
Imagine Stokes, Dandridge, yes, and Cisse out there. If you went to a zone, good luck if you get to the rack.
Exactly. So, and let's throw Lance Thomas in, who's a decent rim protector. If you really wanted to go big. And play a zone or something of that nature. Put Lance Thomas at the top.
What it will allow is it'll allow a lot, Dave, and you won't be that concerned. Well, you say this now, and we fell into this last year, and we know how things change and how the season works, and you get down to about 7 or 8 guys, but you wouldn't be that concerned with foul trouble.
No, you wouldn't be concerned at all with foul trouble.
And the Tigers fouled a bunch last year.
Oh, they did, and I think that's part of their defensive philosophy is to be aggressive and physical, and that's okay. And once your pattern is established, you see the way the officiating is going to go. You go from there. But
we know how the officiating goes now. They call everything.
Do you think
they do? The old Nolan Richardson style of they can't call everything because they don't want to blow up the TV window. They'll blow the TV window up.
That was Nolan Richardson's absolute, and Rick Pitino the same way. They both were on the same page with that. But if you add a Cisse with one of the two transfers that becomes eligible, with what you've got coming back, isn't that a top 25 team?
I think it is, and I think the standard should be Sweet 16 or so. I won't say or bust. I'm not saying that. I'm not putting that on them, but it will be a high bar, and it should be, and it has been.
And the other thing I really like about it is they're going to play good competition, which will prepare them for the NCAA tournament. That is another thing that it sort of bugged me about Josh, and it bugged me about Tubby, was I did not think we were playing enough good teams, especially Josh's last year and Tubby's first, where you're playing 300 RPI teams. Come on. You can't possibly get
McNeese
better.
State,
You can't
South
get
Carolina
better.
Upstate.
Right, you can't get better playing those guys. So here you may lose a couple.
There's a lot of states in there I'd never heard of, really.
Yeah, I really don't mind losing a hard-fought game to a really good team where if it's early in the year, you become a lot more toughened. You become much better acclimated to what it will take to win.
But Dave, will the committee reward you for that? And will the committee reward you that coming out of the AAC? I'm with you conceptually. But then you go out there and you play that meat grinder November, December, and you look up after, say, 12 games and you're 8-4 or 7-5. Will they remember that on selection Sunday weekend after you've kind of danced through the AAC at 14-4?
Well, first of all, you could get a couple of wins in there. I think you could do if there is tournament play in the Bahamas. You win a game there, and then you lose a
But if you don't,
game.
the downside of it is I got penalized for trying to get better, and I didn't get rewarded for it. Why do it? Give me Bryant, give me South Carolina Upstate, give me Southern, give me those teams.
I think in the long run, if you keep this philosophy, you'll win your enough share of games and get toughened for the tournament where you'll still make it.
But the Tigers have to get better in the AAC. Last year, just 10-8. Year before that, 11-7. They've got to get better there.
They do.
First, but you don't play that part of the schedule first. You play that part of the schedule at the end. You play that second. I do think there will be some revised schedules out there where we see a few more conference games across college basketball. I don't know if it'll be opening night like the ACC did last year, but I think you'll see more conference games in November, December combined instead of everything backloaded. And I always I thought that's what made the 1 versus 2 a lot of fun is, that was a late February game. That's how it built to that, to that stature. If that had been early in the season, they wouldn't have been 1 and 2. And even if they had been, it wouldn't have had that same zing to it.
Well, I'm with you. I love playing an early game. I don't want to play a lot of them. I want to play it like maybe the third or fourth game. Make it a game that is not your greatest rival, but one that you have interest in.
East Carolina.
Well, I'd even take something better than that, but that's fine. Anybody. Remember, there was a reason why the ACC played that first game. That was because they were
TV.
They were introducing
Network.
the
They wanted to come on with a splash.
They did.
Yeah.
And I don't think they'll do that at first game again this year. But I think it's good to have one early like that. And I don't mind, like Memphis used to play, a great game in February where you go away from your conference schedule. And Memphis used to do this with Gonzaga. You remember that? I love that game, too.
Did it with Xavier.
Yeah.
We do it occasionally with Villanova later in the year. Georgetown was kind of always around a Christmas thing, and sometimes Gonzaga would be, but it was a lot more fun with Gonzaga when it was a later thing.
If you did that, where you played an early conference game and then you did a game in February where you're playing a really good made-for-TV matchup with somebody really good. I like that mix because I do too. You're grinding it out in the conference and everybody knows each other. You've already played everybody once by then. You take just a little breather. You play a really good game. It keeps your team focused, I think.
And Dave, you get that really glamour at a conference opponent, say, third Saturday in February, and I'm not even going to make a stretch at one of the bigger names, but even Gonzaga, that puts you in line for hosting game day on ESPN college basketball.
I agree. I would love to keep that series with Gonzaga. John had it going every year, and Josh had it going most of the time. And I really, first of all, I love going to Gonzaga. It is electrifying, whether you play it in the Kennel or you play it in their convention center. It's sold out every time, and both programs, obviously.
Here's one I'd love.
Amazing.
Third Saturday in February, game day, FedEx Forum, out in front, cameras rolling like it was against Louisville. It was inside against Tennessee for Memphis and Arkansas.
I was just going to say, and Arkansas is on the come. I mean, Musselman was I'm going to say just a great hire. I think Musselman is going to be incredibly successful there. And
he shows the power of fourth choice, because remember, Chris Beard was kind of number one, Kelvin Sampson kind of number two, and they were talking to some other, but he was third or fourth.
He was third. I think you're right.
He is getting established.
Yeah, Beard was one, and I'm not sure if it was Beard or Sampson one or two, but both of them were ahead of Musselman. But Musselman,
but Hunter Yurachek had a plan.
He did.
He had a plan. If the first two said no, and Chris Beard, as Texas Tech kept advancing, ultimately played the last night of the year, it was getting less and less of a chance that they would really get him.
We mentioned a little earlier. I just saw this. Tiger Woods 20-1 to win. He's tied with a couple of their sixth. Yes. You know who the favorite to win the Memorial is this week? And I got first pick.
It's got to be Beefcakes.
It is 11-1. This is interesting too. Tiger Woods spoke today, or it might have been yesterday.
He speaks.
No,
it was today.
And he said the reason he skipped these early tournaments was for safety. He was wanting to see what it was going to be like with COVID on the tour.
That's fine.
And he was going to lay back.
No aspersions from me for anybody that is doing that. You got one shot at this thing called life, and if you want to be super extra protective, now I do think you have to be responsible to others and not just let it rip and not practice some of the suggested guidelines. And when we talk about masks and we talk about social distancing, I'm afraid that we're starting to maybe not mention it enough. Keep washing your hands.
No kidding. The masks, though, I think are the most important thing. But then washing your hands.
I do, Dave, and I asked this rhetorically, and I asked this last week of Drew rhetorically, and I do it to you, and I'll text you the name of a friend of ours that we know very well, who for years has battled health maladies and a lot of treatments and a lot of trips for that. And I know I would go to lunch with him 4 and 5 and 6 years ago, way before we ever heard of COVID-19, and he would have on a mask. He would have on gloves, and he was but now we hear that the mask, when you have it on, when I have my mask on, is for you and Drew. But you would go through an airport and see someone, and look, I'm not being stereotypical, but you can tell a person that maybe had been going through chemo or some type of radiation or some type of treatment. You'd see them very frail, and you would see them with a mask on. Well, what were they protecting us from? Weren't they wearing it then, thinking it was just for them?
Well, I'm not 100% sure of this, but I've seen plenty of instances years ago when, through the Japanese culture, if they had a cold, they would wear a mask.
It's standard issue.
They would wear a mask.
And look at Japan, look at Tokyo. There's not a more densely populated, they're very smart people, but densely populated people on Earth. I mean, they are jammed on top of each other, and they beat it back quickly because it is just standard issue for them on good days or no. They wear one, and I have said, Dave, with a couple things that I deal with, and just that crud every year around basketball time and inside. I think going forward for me, come Halloween to the sun shining brightly in the springtime, out in public, it's going to be standard issue for me.
Well, I will tell you that over the years, especially in basketball season, in the winter, I'll get a winter cold. And I always sort of pride myself on I'm going to gut through this thing, and I'm going to have tea with honey by me at the broadcast station or
Maker's
coffee,
Mark.
or coffee, no Maker's Mark. And I've got a wad of Kleenex, a wad.
Jack Daniels,
and
there was that time.
And every
and
break,
then that time we were on the air together, and you thought you had your finger on the cough button, and you had the big blowout, and you didn't have your finger on the cough button. It went right through the mic.
Right. But
it happens.
But
look, everybody has a cold.
I don't think they would let me. So seriously, I would have that clean, and I'd blow my nose
Dave.
every break, and I'd throw the Kleenex underneath the press table.
Then shut the arena down now.
They will not let me do a game that way anymore. I'm
Dave,
serious. If I had a
2
cold
years
like
ago,
that, I would not be able to do the game.
2 years ago, right now, SEC Media Days in Atlanta, and I really had never had a summertime cold, but I had the summertime cold. Night sweats, fever, chills. I had the whole 9 yards, and I swear, and you can ask somebody at the radio station, I called on Tuesday and said, I'm flying home. I feel like hell. I'm coming home. And please don't, if you can at all make it through Media Days. I would have shut down the whole town now.
Yeah.
Because, everybody down there goes, oh, man, you look like hell. You sound terrible.
You would have. That is the darndest truth. We'll let you know this portion of the show brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai and Olive Branch Genesis of Olive Branch. Same building, getting bigger all the time, getting more product. I can't wait for the SUVs coming in from Genesis. I got the G70 right now, the fastest car, the best high-performance car I've ever had. I had a G90. That was the smoothest. The Hyundais are incredible. This is technology so good. So durable, you get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty with every new car. And the folks that sell you these cars, they've been together for years. That's the kind of group they are. They've had so much success. No one ever leaves when they go to work there. They're happy to be there. They're happy to help you. They've got this product, and they got incentives. How about 0% financing for 84 months now on some of these cars? And on select models, 120 days to make the first payment. Well, they understand. We've been going through a pandemic. You might not have the cash now. You're back to work. 4 months from now, you'll be able to afford it. 120 days on select models on a Hyundai or a Genesis car before you make your first payment. Go see my guys. You'll understand why I call them the standard of the way car business should be done. That's Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. Back with Crunch Time and a wrap of today in just a minute on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallow and Stats.
R&R on Sports, Saturday mornings, 10 a.m., Sports 56, 87.7, and 96.1. Don't miss us.
Farmers Insurance knows that when you're in the car and that song comes on, yes, that's the one, you have no choice but to pull out your imaginary drumsticks and smack those cymbals and stomp on that kick pedal, which unfortunately is the accelerator pedal. And we covered it. Talk to a farmer's agent who knows a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two.
Call Chad Gatlin at 901-235-1176 or get a fast quote at memphisfarmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
It's July, and you know what that means, Memphis. It's time for our anniversary tent sale going on now at Sunrise. And just in time, too, because GM just announced employee pricing for everyone on almost all new Buicks and GMCs. Rebates as big as $7,000. Discounts up to $10,000. Over 500 used cars and trucks in stock with a great selection of late model GM certified vehicles. And we specialize in cars under $10,000. Bad credit, slow pay, bankruptcy, it's okay at Sunrise. No clowns, no gimmicks here, just big savings. Look for the huge tent on Highway 64 in Bartlett, across from the Wolf Chase Mall. Call, click, or come in. We make it fun to buy a car.
Glad to announce the Rendezvous open for business 11A to 8P Tuesday through Saturday. World famous Rendezvous up and running. If you need some barbecue nachos, brisket, ribs, maybe a cheese and sausage plate, the Rendezvous back and open for dine-in, carry out, and curbside. While not much changes in the alley basement, you will see a few small differences and additions. For now, open 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday. And they have desserts. Think key lime pie tarts, chocolate chess pie tarts. Spend some time downtown and visit our friends at the Rendezvous. in the Alley in downtown Memphis since 1948. All of the Vargas family thanks Memphis and the Mid-South so very much for your support during these times, and they're there for you, as always, in the Alley in downtown Memphis. Mr. Charlie Vargas and family's famous restaurant, The Rendezvous.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Come on, Muhammad, we hit fame. Too easy with the deal, we get insane.
Just a little breaking news coming your way. 24/7 Sports, you know they're famous for their crystal ball. They just went 100% Memphis on a commitment from an outside linebacker named Kobe Fields, kid from Louisiana, 3-star outside linebacker who just decommitted from Oklahoma State. Now it looks like tomorrow or the next day he will
They are in Louisiana, aren't they?
Yeah,
they are doing a good job down there.
Looks like they're going to get that young kid. And then we'll see the Cisse thing tomorrow. So, by the way, somebody
It's 100% according to the Brett crystal ball.
Hey, if it's on the Brett crystal ball at 100%, and that's the first time he's gone out on a limb like that, I like our chances. Somebody actually had texted us on the First Bank text line saying, canceling a banquet 6 months from now? What the heck? Well, They got the word for it. They got the word from the hotel, honestly, because this banquet's really big. I don't think they could have more than 50 people that they could commit to, and they can't. They got to have a lot more people than that.
And before you spend more money on it, you got to make a decision.
And in all honesty, the makeup of the Memphis Amateur Sports Hall of Fame are older folks. And so I think they were thinking about them, too, being very, very careful. This portion of the show brought to you by Conway Services, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Electric, and, of course, the tankless. Maybe time for a tankless water heater from Conway. It never runs out of hot water. Plus, the energy-saving models only heat the water you use, so you save money on your gas bill absolutely every month. And you never have to worry about a tank bursting because there is no tank. Most 10-year-old water heaters, they're about 65% efficient when they're new. A tankless from Conway up to 98% efficient. And right now, you can get it as low as $79 a month, or John will give you $300 for your old tanked water heater. How about it? 8,000 five-star reviews on Conway on Google. Wow. That's amazing. All you got to do is make the call, 384-3511, 384-3511, Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. It's crunch time.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
Take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working? It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Woo! Woo! Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day. Dave, I learned today that the NBA has now reversed their stance, and they will allow, if you buy a jersey online, for the hashtag Free Hong Kong. There are a lot of different hashtags and things out there. One of them, you could have put on your jersey, blank the police, and they didn't say blank. One, you could have put on there, Free Mexico, Free America, Free Canada, and there's a couple on there that I can't even repeat.
Right.
NBA, you better be real careful with some of this stuff. You could alienate a lot of people.
Well, they've sold a lot of jerseys this way, but they've allowed some things that are incredibly insensitive to a number of people. It is a very, very fine line. I would agree with you on that. I learned today we could have fans at 901 FC. There has been a proposal to the Shelby County Health Department by Craig Unger and company, which he says was well received. So at some point, and they open up, the 901 FC opens up in Birmingham tomorrow. They could end up with fans. We don't know how many yet, but they could end up with fans. Indy and Louisville have had fans for their games already played.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Let's hope so. Could have done without this today from the NBA bubble. They got a rule, a recommendation, or a directive for about everything inside that NBA bubble. They all but are monitoring sleep, what you can watch on TV. Heck, they're practically taking stool samples. I mean, it's incredible, the guidelines for that bubble.
I guess I could have done without the knowledge that the U of M athletes had to sign a waiver when they came, releasing the university of any liability from COVID-19. They had their first mandatory football workout yesterday. You know what? Since they've arrived, there has not been a COVID-19 case from football yet in Memphis. There were 4 hoops.
But Dave, we're entering into a waiver
that was
world.
Back in June. Yeah, we are. And I'm sure that
now
that
it
there
would be
may
a
times
great battle in the courts.
I got news for you. If we are lucky enough to cover the WGC event, we might have to sign a waiver.
Oh, I think we will.
Yeah.
Now, good luck with some of those holding up.
True.
Courts are eager to battle. We'll keep a close eye on all that. Pro golfers are loving the no pro-ams and a lot of those events not being fans. We'll see as we go forward because there won't be the rest of the year. Also, we'll keep an eye on the Tommy Tuberville results tonight. Oh, Riverboat Gambler, the gentleman from Camden, trying to aspire to the world's most deliberative body. Unbelievable, isn't it?
That is absolutely incredible. If he wins that.
I didn't even know he was a Republican.
I didn't either. That will.
I don't think you did either.
Truly be amazing. This was a lot of fun today. We got to thank Daryl Smith, Brent Beard, Pat Smith, and Bo Marchant. Tomorrow, TJ Reeves, John Goen. I'll be back making picks, so you know this order is going to change. Rick Horo and the one and only Ron Tillery. That is going to be great. Please come back and join us. That'll be tomorrow, same time as always. Have a great night, everybody.
As you get back to business, small things can make a big difference. Like marking safe distances with floor tape and posting reminders to wash hands. As always, Grainger is here to help, offering supplies and solutions for every industry. Free access to product specialists, 24/7 support, safety recovery guides, and more. It's part of our commitment to help you adapt and recover in these challenging times. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger,